PuppyPaw versus VortiX. An interesting matchup, actually, 'cause I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the matchups where VortiX historically done quite well, but in recent times, at least, PuppyPaw's been able to start striking back. And got to say, Winston, we talked up Wham, we talked about how amazing his build orders and execution has been. His bro hasn't been far behind him in that regard. And I think something I'd say about PuppyPaw is it looks like he's a little bit more sharp in the late game, shall we say. I feel like we've seen more late game examples where PuppyPaw has been able to get an edge against some of these best.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I think it's important to remember that PuppyPaw and Wham, they were waiting at this stage of the bracket, right? Like
Yep.
they did so well in the groups that they are here waiting for these challengers to come through and try and beat them in the playoffs, right? So I think it's a really important thing that these players are the favorite. We just saw an upset with Louis and Wham, but now PuppyPaw and VortiX, we'll see if VortiX can do it. I mean, VortiX historically probably considered a slightly better player than Puppy, but not by a lot, right? We're talking very close seedings in my like personal view of how these players rank against each other. So I think this game could be fireworks. I'm hoping it's not another 4-0. I predict it won't be another 4-0 personally. We have a similar map set, but not exactly. Look, you see Cliffside
Cliffside, yeah.
sneaking into this draft, although a lot of players did not prefer it. VortiX, maybe he
Ooh,
practiced something over the past week on this map.
it's
We're
had
seeing the usual bans, although Puppy risked
so
Ottomans. I
yeah,
mean,
so
Vortex versus
no,
Ottomans.
VortiX risks Ottomans. They do this all the time. They're convinced they have the answer to it. Um,
Mhm.
it's kind of an interesting one. Like I like the dynamic of it because if you bait your opponent to go for Ottomans, then you can get your hands on the Ayyubids plus the Mongols. That makes sense. Think about VortiX as a player, think about his playstyle, it's all about aggro. This doesn't surprise me what we're seeing out of PuppyPaw. This is a story of attack and defend. His entire draft, it has a few aggro civs, but the backbone of it with things like China and Byzantines is more leaning on this idea that VortiX will attack me and I need to survive. And it really does fit actually for PuppyPaw. He's the Chinese king. He has 5 wins, no losses. He's by far the most successful Chinese player in this entire tournament. On top of that, the Byzantines fit that turtle style. Only one person has more games played and more wins than him with the Byzantines, and that's his bro that we just saw eliminated. So really fits this kind of philosophy of how they want to play the game.
That said, Ram didn't draft Biz, and now Puppy Paw drafted it really late, alongside a last pick Malian. So
Yep.
that's coming in late for those maybe more hotly contested civs.
But that's the point.
Prioritizing Order the Dragon too. Interesting.
Yeah, Order of the Dragon's a little bit surprising. But then again, like it makes sense. I think VortiX had pick first, right? HRE, we already seen it gets hard counted by OOTD. Makes a lot of sense. I'm just gonna stick it out there because I've had enough of this crap. The amount of times where I was like, Order of the Dragon aren't quite there yet, and then I just had people in my streams like, yeah, but VortiX made like a tier list, and he said OOTD are like S tier. VortiX still has yet to pick Order of the Dragon in this entire tournament. Just gonna slide that one out there for you. The closest we saw was when his bro picked it yesterday against him. So, once again, someone else gets their hands on that pick, and he's not really coveting it like it's a high value one. Later phase though,
Mm.
Abasa coming out. I've said this before, set again. I think Abasa is like they kind of look underwhelming in a lot of ways, but in tournament play they're not too bad. And I think a big part of why is that the Abbasids they are a good flexi pick if you kind of flesh the draft out deep enough. I'm just going to say now, I don't think Abbasids are going to be a super hot pick in this tournament format because of that bracket reset. If you were
Yeah.
talking about a full draft where you could go the distance and you're down to your 3 final civs, that's where Abbasids makes sense. But remember, folks, the way this works, best of sevens, when we get to game 4, when game 4 completes, we do this entire draft again.
Yeah. It's and that's a very important thing to note, right? So like
Yeah.
these later picks might not get used. I think generally we don't see them get used. We just see the players use their early picks. Oh, where have we seen this before?
I,
Oh
I
yeah,
was, yeah,
last
I,
series, the same map, the same matchup, but this time the Canadian brother is on the other side of things with the
Yeah,
Ayyubids, right?
which is good for NA. Like I was about to say,
It's good for
I was
Anna.
trying to get in there in time to say I really hope VortiX doesn't do it. This is a tough matchup. Like we already win for it
We'll see.
once.
I feel like there's just creative ways to play it. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think you just don't make the Dark Age Spearmen. I think they just don't
Yeah,
do enough. Or if you do, you try and fake it. Like you build the barracks, but maybe you just don't do it and you just try and click up. I don't know if it's a good idea to do that, but like clearly we've seen the opening for Mongols just get so hard countered and get so little value that I just don't see how you can in good conscience continually commit to it. Maybe we're going to see a different map, right? We saw before with Louis that his map was just too good. It had the golds on the side, and so he could just retreat to the other gold mine, and the rotation was too long. So maybe in this game, Puppy will have to deal with worse gold mines, in which case the VortiX's game plan could work. So we'll see. So if you're not familiar, the plan is just Spearman and Tower Rush, right? It's the very common Mongol opening. But Ayyubids seem to have a strong enough and solid enough opening that just can't really be hindered by the Mongol start. So we'll see if that happens this game. I'm not sure. Maybe VortiX has a plan. I don't know.
So I
Maybe
still
it'll just
believe,
work, you know?
like, I still believe Deerstone could be the way out, especially if you're trying to go all in the timing. The only alternative
Right.
is you spam Keshik straight away and you try to deny.
Yeah.
But actually, I think Keshik's is kind of a bait. People aren't gonna like to hear this, but like, if it's Desert Raider, Horseman makes a lot more sense to begin with because Horsemen get bonus damage against the Desert Raider, right? So it's actually more cost efficient trading than relying solely on Keshiks. Because some of the IB players will start doing when they see Keshik spam coming out, they add in a stable and then they start pumping out Desert Raiders. And Desert Raiders have phenomenal flexibility in that comp because remember, you can produce them out of the archery range or the stables, right? So
Yeah.
the other annoying thing about Desert Raiders opening up to counter Cav for the Mongols is unless you now go in and scout their base, which means you're not with the Keshiks often, you don't know whether it's archers or horsemen that can layer this in, right? That's really annoying because it means that you can usually find yourself a step behind the comp. One thing I do want to highlight about the rest of this draft, though, surprising the way that Delhi got prioritized while Japanese was still in. There's a very big deviation here between like VortiX and Lucifron often. One thing to know is that usually when there's Holy Island in, they prioritize getting the Delhi and the Japanese by offering up something like Ottomans early. That's a big change. The fact that VortiX still banned the Ottomans in the second phase is something in the group stage that Lucifron and VortiX both didn't do. They kept allowing it so that they could get the Japanese Delhi combo. It's less desirable when you don't have the flexi of Holy Island because the idea is Delhi is countered by Japanese. So you pick it to have Japanese on Holy Island, but then you have Delhi for an earlier map. We don't have that situation here. I will still say, however, Japan can work quite well against some things like HRE. But one thing that is worrisome, I think, when anyone sees in the draft right now, Winston, is that English pick. That is the lowest, worst performing Civ in the entire tournament. They have like a 27% win rate. But a moment of hope here. There is one player that has never, two players that have never lost with the English in this entire tournament. Those are Beastie and VortiX. They both have 3 wins each. So if anyone can make this absolute pile of trash work, it's VortiX.
Yeah, VortiX has had a really solid English for years at this point, right? He's just had a really consistent game plan. He just macros really solid and really really good positioning, and really solid defense against Cav, with good use of like Spearman Archer, right? Or Spearman Longbow, sorry. So I think if he does pick English, he doesn't have to, but he might. Like I don't think he wants to pick like a Basset over English on any map, right?
Maybe Cliffside.
Jushi, maybe I could see maps where Jushi would be preferred, but
Yeah.
I think English are probably pretty solid against a lot of these Civs from Puppy.
It's
I think
probably,
there's just some risky matchups there, right? Like,
yeah.
probably don't want it against Japan, right?
Maybe English for Golden Heights. I feel like the draft for him is likely going to be Mongols, Delhi, English, and then probably
Yeah.
HRE. Like it's kind of weird actually. A lot of these players are just drafting the final 2 picks like a whatever. For Poppy
Yeah,
Paw, there's
because
more
you don't.
flexi there. Yeah, so like I think the reason you pick English for Golden Heights is because there's Malians on the other side. It's interesting the way that Poppy Paw banned that away and then left it to the very last. This is a popular strategy. If you basically ban something early and you don't pick it until the very end, because then you can assess, has my opponent addressed it? Like, you know, is it a
Right.
free pick? And there was never a risk of them taking it along the way. I've seen some players do this where like the first proper ban, I say proper ban because recent Ottomans in every game, you literally just pick something that you're not going to take yourself until the bitter end of the draft because you have that flexibility of choice. But I believe we are ready to go.
Mhm.
Interesting draft. I
Yeah.
do think the Puppy Paw made a bit better use of the final phase there, getting the counter to the English, getting the Byzantines, but we aren't there yet. We're into game 1 of this best of 7 to decide who is going to meet up against Beastie Cutie in the semifinals. We kick it off with Puppy Paw on the Ayyubids and VortiX on his signature Mongols.
Oh, that gold is really safe.
It's next to the berries as well, though. So
But
like,
it is easier to get to. Like, you could a tower there is possible, and the gold on the north is really far away, whereas the gold in the south is also kind of tricky. Not that gold, the gold south of Puppy's base. Like, it's gonna be hard to, yeah, that one. It's gonna be hard to move
Oh,
out onto those compared
that
to what we saw earlier. So there's potential here for the early aggression to work. I
that
think for
backside is
VortiX.
juicy though. Can you just have a look at that backside quickly? Because you've got the
Oh, yeah.
berries, deer, gold, and think about how easily you can wall this because you've got both your tree lands on the east side. There's some weird dynamics here where like I agree there's a way that the Mongols can hit that outpost, but they then need to keep the pressure up to keep PuppyPaw underneath the TC. Otherwise, this is still quite a free Ayyubid game.
Barracks forward, yeah. So VortiX is gonna commit. I mean, it's what you'd expect, right? I was kind of memeing before when I said like maybe you don't do it, but it's so bread and butter, right? I just don't even know, is that gold mine in range of the TC? I don't even think you could torch that.
No, it's out of range.
Are
Right?
you sure you can torch?
It's on
Yeah,
the
I guess you
edge.
can
Yeah.
torch that. Yeah.
If he didn't put the House of Wisdom there, he could have staggered it closer, but then that makes you
Yeah.
kind of inefficient on the God Gathering, right?
Yeah, but then you'd completely deny any risk to getting torched, which means you don't even have to like risk a Repairville. Remember what we saw last time?
The interesting thing about this, by the way, is like if this wasn't Mongols, if this was another Civ doing this type of play to deny the Ayyubids, you might just GG the game at like 7 minutes against Ayyubids, right? Because you've just plopped the play. They don't expect it. When they discover the outpost, they now have to waste time reacting. I think the unfortunate reality of like Mongols in this matchup as well is the required play, that critical hit in the early game, is going to happen, right? Like you just said it there. I was memeing, you have to do a Rax rush, right? So it's like, if you're on the other side and you're the Ayyubid player, you know this is coming. You can anticipate it and react accordingly.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the weakness, and he just pre-deletes it. Yeah, that's super smart, man. Puppy's got some plans here, man. this is hot. I think this is interesting. Yeah, because like now what are you tower rushing? He says, look, my strategy doesn't even need gold. That is ballsy to say, but I really like it. He can go back to the gold later, right? It's just 50 wood to rebuild, and it just denies any threat of the pressure. And now this Ville's just been idle, and I guess the risk here is that he's able to build the outpost on the berries, right?
Yeah, but he's not going for it, which is worrisome to me.
He doesn't have the con here. The con's at home. He's gonna see that it's denied. He might move. I think he's gonna move it forward up, right?
He's got time. If he cancels it right now, but if he waits any longer, like it's just done, right? Like you can still actually block out 2 berries here. You might actually be able to skirt that backline berries, right, when they're running on the south side. But because of the mill's location, they shouldn't be having that behavior often. So yeah, kind of a bit unfortunate.
And I guess you're happy if you're VortiX, right? Just the threat of your Civ at this point, he deleted a mining camp and he's off of gold entirely. That means you know that if you play correctly behind this, if you're VortiX, then you could potentially be in a good spot, right?
Yeah, and you know what kind of worries me is like right now, this matchup is already very Ayyubid favored, heavily Ayyubid favored. There's a patch coming soon, right? Where the Mongols' timing on their initial spin is going to get nerfed. Yeah. If they already struggle to do enough damage with this, what happens then? Like, I'm curious. I got this funny feeling that Mongols right now are a first or second pick priority, right, for most players. I actually think in some cases they're going to be relegated to third pick after that change. And this is the big part of why. Like, as I said, this build already struggles. So what happens when you have to delay it by an extra 20 seconds, 30 seconds?
I feel like the problem for Mongols right now, at least against in a tournament draft, right? Like where you know what's going on and people are playing optimal builds only, right? They're not memeing, like I said, like they're not doing cheesy weird stuff because they don't want to take unnecessary risks, right?
Here they're not Yumi onlying? What?
Yeah, they're not doing like crazy builds just to like try stuff. Here they're doing the tried and true. And that's where like this Mongol build is just so predictable that I think it's a problem for them, right? Like I think you could maybe look at it and say, is it good? Is it a really high draft pick when their only strategy is this predictable? You could maybe question it, but I think there's a reason it's predictable and there's a reason it's still valued is because it's effective. So even here, like Puppy has had to adapt, right? Like he isn't able to play the game that he wants to play just because he doesn't have a mining camp. He deleted a mining, like that's not like great for Puppy right now. He's not going to be getting wheelbarrow. He's not going to be getting like early food, horticulture, or like wood chopping, right? Like it's a little painful.
So what you're saying is we need to auto-invite Donati to the playoffs for some wild builds.
I mean, it could be cool, but I don't know if innovation is going to come though with. I don't think it's a player thing. I think it's just like the nature of the way the Mongols are played right now, right? Like,
yeah, it's like the weird thing about the map pool is it makes Mongols seem desirable, but the fact that Ayyubids are just like such a good tempo civ generically and a perfect counter to Mongols makes it very difficult for me to see Mongols ending this tournament, at least the playoffs phase, with a high degree of success. And this is why, this opening right here, right? You start the Desert Raider, you add in the Horseman, you add in the Archers. VortiX, if he opens with Keshik now, his life is already hard because of that Desert Raider effect. That aura is going to mitigate a lot of his impact when he has to fight. And it's going to stables.
And VortiX's main gold is just a little out of the range of the TC. Sometimes building your... He's not noticed.
Wait, VortiX?
Oh, no.
No, dude.
No, not like this.
I've seen games like this from VortiX, Winston. The ones that just make you tilt, and this has to be one of those games when he realizes that he just lost 4 villages to a free unit. He is going to be livid.
4 vills, man. What?
Wait, what? Wait, what?
Attack!
That was the most unnecessary ranged mode activation ever.
And meanwhile, on the front, the Spearmen are getting pushed back. It looks like that's what VortiX's focus was on. But look at that. 3 vills down. Mongols already starting a vill down because they have to move the town center, so they idle the TC. So a 4 vill lead for PuppyPaw. Nothing could be more comfortable than this. That is the most value I've ever seen out of that starting unit for the reinforcement wing. I've never seen it kill 3 vills for free like that. Man, VortiX has got to be mad about that one. As we should we all. Like, that just feels so bad.
Just think about the add-on effect here as well, Winston. The timings now screw him because the Keshiks have come out, but guess what? Replacement Desert Raider coming with the main army. So now you've got these Keshiks you can't fight yet. You have to delay yourself further. You just got idled on the gold after losing almost all your gold workers. So your scalability into Keshiks has been kind of hampered. And I love this pivot by PuppyPaw. He's like, okay, that went better than expected. Let me get a few pokey
making
sticks.
Units. Yeah, he's just making units now. So now it's a 1-1-1 build for him. And the value camels are just so good against the Keshiks, right? You just you reduce their damage by 20% just by having 1 in your army, which is like, that's a huge, you're just up like an upgrade and a half, basically. It's just massive. This is a really good position for Puppy. It's up to him to figure out how to close this, though, without accidentally throwing. The Mongols can turtle in a really small area. So he's going to have to figure this out, but I don't think the Silver Tree is ever going to get value.
That's the thing, right? They can turtle in a small area if they don't use the Silver Tree, at which point you've built a landmark, but you wonder why, right? Like, it has no presence, no value. PuppyPaw just has full agency here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he does try some crazy kind of 10-minute feudal aggro because of the lead he's now built. He's
adding a ram.
It's really smart. He's actually smuggling it to the back side, right? Yeah, it's to deal with the back side of his base. So outposts can be taken out so you can reclaim the gold. This is now PuppyPaw saying, I don't want to go for the all-in. I actually just want to play for my castle. The thought I'm having, though, Winston, is when VortiX sees that outpost being taken out, surely his thought process is going to be, I need to rush this, he's going castle. What if this is just a bait? By getting rid of that outpost, you're looking like you're being greedy.
I think he is being greedy. He stopped making units.
He doesn't have gold right now.
Oh, yeah. No. He queued him more.
Like,
I mean, yeah, it'd be a bit early to idle, but you don't know. He could just put every vill on gold and then quickly click up, but that'd be crazy.
Well,
he could maybe do the cheaper Egypt, too.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. You have options, right? Like, you think it's the tech up when you see someone taking that gold back.
But it's
you need something else. Yeah, like, but you need something else if you play long feudal, Winston. You need gold for blacksmith upgrades. It's like, this doesn't fully reveal to VortiX what PuppyPaw is doing yet. This ram taking out the outpost could be either a prolonged feudal still or that gradual castle.
That's 5 spearmen. Before we saw 4 and they weren't upgraded and it was close. This is 5 vet spears.
Yeah, like a little bit cumbersome. PuppyPaw just throwing away spearmen, kind of unnecessary here.
Oh,
it's going to get a reasonable fight here, though. Desert Raider's not being targeted.
What?
What? No, this is the worst way to put it. The Desert Raider is not being targeted at all. So actually, this is a decent trade for PuppyPaw. Finally, Archers do arrive, and that's going to turn it around in favor of VortiX now, but a lot of Keshiks going down there.
And the tower gets taken out as well. Still with a 5-vill lead, and there's horsemen on the Silver Tree, so that's never going to make a trader, right? Like, that just won't make a trader for...
It's unlikely.
Several minutes, right? It's just the threat, which is kind of nice. It forces, like... What is good for VortiX here is it's going to force units to be near the different trade posts. It's going to force maybe a couple units to camp it, right? Because the threat of a couple traders is there, right?
Yeah.
Just a few could swing the game if they get good trades off.
Here's the thing, though, Winston. Like, that fight in the center, I think it really screwed VortiX's timing because he rushed with the Keshiks, right? Like, if he waited for those archers, he has 2 extra Keshiks. He's at a point where he can start diving the base. PuppyPaw is now going for that tech timing. He's rushing on the gold. He's got full access. And you may notice he's got long-term food access because he walled that backside. So now, if you're VortiX, like, what is your thought process? Do you now try to match a tech timing where you know you'll be discounted? Or do you now have to go all in? Because you sure as hell aren't going to be scaling trade, right?
Right. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do when you're down 3 vills from the start. Like, I feel like all bets are off. All of your calculations about timings are wrong. You have to feel this out just intuitively, right? Because at this point, those 3 vills would have gathered like 1,000 more red. Like maybe not 1,000, but like close to at this point, right? Like all of your assumptions about the timings are off when you make a mistake that big in the early game, right? So it's sort of like, as a player, what VortiX needs to do is feel a lot more rather than rely on his intuition. And I think that's scary to be in a tournament, right? Game 1. A lot's on the line here. He does have a larger army. And it looks like Puppy's going to go for the click right now.
Yeah, but what's worrying me is like VortiX isn't using that army, right? Like it feels like you have to wait for the tech up, and the moment that comes, you need to pounce. What I'm curious about, like PuppyPaw, VortiX doesn't have that many Keshiks, right? If PuppyPaw drops like double racks on top of his current one and spams Golems, he will have the necessary troops to defend this.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be tight. So what landmarks coming through? It's villagers, growth. Yeah, it looks like growth.
Probably growth.
Yeah, yeah. No reason to go.
We've seen this build a lot. It's kind of insane. He has cleared some of the berries already, so I hope he leaves them around. That's a lot of extra safe food. Then again, he's got the full corner worth of food, so it probably doesn't feel like that's the biggest detail. Oh,
he doesn't even kill that, Vil.
No, come on.
2 HP to dream, baby.
What I love from PuppyPaw is like, the guy's like, I'm not feeling well. Can I go home? No, you work until you die.
He gets sent home. They're getting the retirement treatment. Look, they just got they left. Look, they're walking across the TC now.
He was sent back onto the factory
line
for a while there.
To the wood line with you. To the go forward to the enemy.
When you're so close to death, if you get a splinter, you'll die, right?
Yeah, probably not good to be working around people flailing axes, but that's his life now.
Or falling trees.
All right, so here's the push. The Ayyubids isn't in yet.
No. But the army is scaling, right? Like, PuppyPaw is investing actively a little bit. Not that much. Quite greedy. Horsemen. I'm going to go for exchange. Where is the Desert Raider right now?
It's right in the middle.
Okay, yeah, he's in there. There we go. I need to squint a little. So that aura is not being sniped out. Like, this is very problematic. The archers are targeting the horsemen. VortiX actually attacking the unit that is hardest to kill here.
We got a ram dance. We got a ram dance. Attention, please. Attention, please. Everybody wiggle. Yeah. Hey, sorry, focusing on the game though.
I mean, this is not enough though.
This isn't really enough to deal permanent damage. The tower might go down, but the Ayyubids here. The villagers are running forward. Ooh.
Wait, what?
He had the rally point forward because that's where Desert Raiders go as well. So he had the Desert Raider spawning out into the front of the fight. Now the villagers have to retreat.
12 eco lead though. Like, this is actually absurd just how far ahead he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge lead. It could have been a little bit bigger because he did just lose 4 villagers in this attack. And that he's going to help neutralize some of that earlier advantage. But now that the growth wing is in, now that we see some upgrades or seeing some lancers being added, yeah. Well, no, that's Desert Raiders, right? More Desert Raiders?
He's got Camel Lancers.
Oh, those are Camel Lancers.
Yeah, this
okay, yeah. The icons are similar.
Imagine like going cast stage like,
yeah, there's the
Desert Raiders. The 3 Desert Raiders are going to come out. Camel Lancers are coming.
The Khan and a Keshik are going to spot this rotation. The Vil on the gold. This Keshik won't be just enough.
There's no wheelbarrow. He'll get 1 or 2 kills. Camel Lancers are on the way though. Wait,
he's getting raided everywhere. He's not paying attention. 4 more Vils are going to go down.
Karma, balance in all things. Oh my
balance
god.
in all things. Still with a 6 villager lead, but it's dwindling quickly with these raids. VortiX has been positioning really nicely here, and maybe he wrote off this attack a little too soon. Puppy did not train a ton of units during his time going up, and now he's maybe paying the price for that a bit. He will finally get the cleanup here, though.
Yeah, but he doesn't even have veterancy on the way. So, like, actually, VortiX is still going to trade okay-ish here. It's still going to be a loss, right, due to Camel Lancers, but because there's no archer upgrades coming in, that's at least a soft underbelly you can target. The crazy part about this, though, is, you know, like, thinking back to that fight where VortiX kept some troops alive at the tail end, imagine how different this game would look if he hit with the horse. What?
13 Vil kills?
Are you kidding me?
This game is flipping. This is turning on its head.
Now hold on, Winston. He needs another
VortiX is
2
in
raids like
castle.
that. Yeah,
Another
he's in
raid or
castle.
2. Yeah, but
He's building
if he
traders
makes
though.
enough.
He's actually building traders now. So this is the good news. Like VortiX, like deep breaths, woosah, woosah. But this is also the part where most Mongol players trip up. Because by building traders, you now give a target for camel lances. So it's not just that you're losing your eco, you're investing in an extra unit. So instead of building more Keshits to contest this or spearmen, you're just throwing more into eco that's going to die. So the next 2 minutes are critical. If VortiX can find a way to mirror and block these Lancer raids, after that chip damage, he's back in it. But these next 2 minutes are critical.
Yeah, it's really important for VortiX to find a strategy here that will work long-term against the Castle Age opponent. And that's probably going to be try and split the map, play wide, and try and get raids in here. Taking big fights in the center when you're down in tech is just not going to work. These Lancers are way too strong. But the Keshiks find their way onto the back line, trying to reciprocate some of that damage, but they're going to get chased away by the numbers here. PuppyPaw's army is just so large now. Dervish is on the map as well, so the relics are going to start coming in for him. Puppy's position is looking really, really solid, even though the Vil advantage has been completely neutralized by
It's
VortiX.
a mood detail, though. Like, it's the detail of the army quality now, right? Like, the only upside VortiX has is he built a blacksmith. PuppyPaw is missing that. That should be coming through in the next minute or two. He's already gone into dervishes, and yeah, there it is. Undermesh now on the way. This is incredibly difficult. But this is always the downfall of Mongol players. It's like the moment you have to retreat is the moment you've lost in this matchup. And that's what VortiX done. He shied away, right? Like, he got great raids, but then he tried to turn it into a macro game or a delay. This is where Camel Lancers tend to win 9 out of 10 games.
Yeah, especially when you're strung for trade like this, where he has to defend so many spots on the map, and he's just exposed everywhere, right? It's generally why this early game trade can be so risky against mobile opponents, right? And yeah, the trade's completely shut down, right? There will be no more value from that.
Yeah, it's getting a little raid on the backside. 4 villagers can be chipped, but
okay, he notices this time.
He'll move away. Yeah.
Only
luckily
2
for him, though, this is actually better because they're chasing the 2 remaining instead of going after all the berry gathering right now, which would make
that's a lot of Vils.
Yep.
Yeah. Counterattack though, another trader goes down, so tit for tat, as they say.
And Lancer's going to clear this up now. It's so annoying when a Lancer arrives because, like, your timing on killing a villager with Keshiks gets skewed, right?
Slower,
damage reduction.
less damage.
So it's going to be a pushback for the time being, but this is natural flow, right? Like, PuppyPaw's goal now is to raid, pick relics. And the first relic is already on the way home.
The Ram has given up his pursuit in art and dancing, and he's committed back to war.
He's got a real job.
Like his father always wanted. And to the Ubu he goes. That could be really annoying if he doesn't deal with it. Oh, no, he does. He does deal with it.
It's like, Dad, I'm taking up Impressionist art. It's like, you got to pay your bills, son. All right, back to soldiering. Lance, in the meantime, just able to keep those Keshiks essentially just kind of invalidated. Archer count is still favoring VortiX. Like, that's the upside. PuppyPaw, he's got a bunch of archers camping the gold right now. So it means, like, VortiX maybe could take a fight, but it's irrelevant details here. Finally,
vet archers. Upgrades are in. Yeah.
He gives it over.
That's too much. Too much. Man. That looked like if those 3 Vils hadn't died at the start of the game, I feel like we would have maybe had a different opinion about this matchup based on how VortiX was playing that feudal age.
But it has to be an outplay. Like, I think that's the reality of what we're seeing. Like, the fact that VortiX made it look that close, like he was outplaying raids, which it fits. VortiX's style is aggression. It's why he always prioritizes Mongols. Like, out of all the players, I think he like prioritizes Mongols more than anyone else because the essence of Mongols is in attack. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, you know, when you got that situation where you have no choice but to go forward, it's that type of Civ, right? Like, if you have to defend, you've already lost. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to keep that aggro up. And that Ayyubid Mongol win rate now is just rocketing in favor of the Camels.
Yeah, it's been looking really, really solid. I'm a believer now. That matchup is hard. I feel like you have to draft around it now that I think about it. And you can see Puppy, I think that was just a solid draft choice. Like he had the plan and he executed on it, right? VortiX banned Mongols and Puppy let Mongols through and VortiX prioritized it, right? Puppy got the matchup he wanted, it looks like, and he's going to be happy with that. And VortiX immediately going for English against Japan. That is spicy.
This, I actually think, is like not a bad matchup for the English.
Well, it depends on the map.
It definitely
We
depends on the
still
map.
don't know which map it is.
Like, wait, I thought the maps draft first. No, we should know the map.
Golden Heights, there it is.
Okay, all right. I take back. Like, you know what? Yeah, definitely a good matchup for the English then, right? Like, Golden Heights is a really
Yeah.
good map. The Japanese don't actually have a play until they're feudal. But
Shinobi time?
do you really ever in the history of ninjaing want to build Shinobi against Lombos?
No.
Correct answer, my friend.
But
know-
still, is it Shinobi time?
I really hope it's not. Am I the
Come
only one that finds it
on.
weird? Like longbows are more effective against shinobi than archers. Like you'd think someone shooting from a further distance, a ninja would have more time to like dodge.
Oh, like dodge, like get out of
Yeah.
the way real quick. Yeah, nah. You'd think so, but that's not how game logic works.
No, and unfortunately, this matchup on water hybrids usually do favor Japanese, but you have to remember it got a lot harder. There was an interesting change made, right, where now the shinobi don't come out as quickly.
Slower. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this is like this might just be a feudal rush from both players, right? Like, because if you do, there is one play actually for the English that works really well here. If you do find that the shinobi rush is coming in, and okay, I've just remembered the game. What you do is you run out as VortiX, you build a dock, and then you hold wood for an outpost, and you wait until the Japanese player techs, and as soon as he techs, you build the outpost.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, like, if he's got Shinobi, he can't get away from Shinobi. And if you have one outpost, Shinobi can't, like, dive you, right? They come in, they sabotage, you garrison, hit them, then you come out, repair again, right? And then you just rinse and repeat. I can't remember who it was I saw VortiX do this exact build against, but it completely destroyed them. Like, it ruined their game. Because at that stage, they just looked at it like, if I could go back and choose a Kuristo house, I would. Because now I literally have the most wasted landmark in the game.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to be Kura Storehouse. People, I think the nerf to the Shinobi landmark kind of killed the viability in competitive play, at least on a lot of the hybrid maps, for sure. So we'll see. We'll see. Minute left to go. Do you send a lot of vills forward as English here just to control?
You send 3. It's 3 or 4.
3. It's 3. Yeah, that's what I figured.
3 is the optimal. You don't build a Rax. Like building men at arms is the quickest way to lose this matchup. Like is the worst choice you can make because your opponent will just get Shinobi and Shinobi win. I think you can do the free villager pull though. Like there's not much PuppyPaw can do to contest that. And the worst part still for PuppyPaw is like his only choice is fast feudal, right? Because a prolonged Dark Age means spearman against a civ that builds lombos.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Man, PuppyPaw coming out strong in game 1. Do you think he has much momentum going into game 2 here? Like, do you think VortiX is a little angry about that game mentally?
I wouldn't be surprised. Like VortiX, he's a very passionate player. He has he'll admit himself. Sometimes, like he can be thrown off tilt. Those losses, especially with how close that series started to look with the turnaround raids, losing 3 villages that early has to be stuck on his mind. But don't worry, he's gonna have a good story from this series about 3 villages. They make their way out for the pond.
Out they go, and we shall see what PuppyPaw's plan is this game. Probably very standard. Interesting. Going for an early forge.
Yes, I found that's very good for gathering gold. Because we are going for a fast feudal.
Yeah.
There's no way that he's going to play this. It's like, I even know someone's like, you do get Dark Age Samurai. And I'm like, no, those are called Sadmurai. They are so depressingly bad to build. They're as bad as building Feudal Age Palace Guard, right? Like, I'd actually argue Feudal Age Palace Guard feels better. So he's going to stay at home. VortiX, the interesting thing about the way he does this play, he doesn't build the outpost until the tech up. So at that point, he's either got like a defense against your Shinobi play, or he's just got like a good vision in the area. But of course, he is going to open up the dock. And with the tech timing, he should get enough time to pump out like 2 fishing boats before he has to add an outpost.
Man, look at this map spawn. It's pretty interesting.
The gold is really weird for VortiX, right? Like against a Japanese player on a short rush.
It's all. There's the one north, but like the rest of it is all really far away. Like if he doesn't get control of that like high groundish area by the stones, it's gonna be rough. Then all the 8Ks are like really on top of each other.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes. Like
it does happen, but like
we have seen the spawns where you get an 8K on the left side of the sacred site, but like I find more often than not you get this kind of plump. Like we've even seen Golden Height games mid-game where someone drops a keep and it's basically a GG, right? Because it's like 32k gold secured.
Yeah, it starts playing like regions, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thing, right? Like usually the play here is to sneak a dock in the corner next to the tree lines. So even if it's not a tree line, you sneak it there so you can wall it off. It shows you how confident of a pick the English is in this game, because English are probably the civ that most consistently have all the ones in the game walk straight to the center and drops it.
Excuse me. You told me the ninjas were bad.
They are bad. They are really bad. Watch this timing from VortiX. He's gathering wood. When the checkout comes through, he's going to build an outpost at the dock. I'm
just saying, we're seeing it.
Yeah, we're seeing history repeat itself. If he invests into Matt
we're
Shinobi,
seeing PuppyPaw write history.
Oh yes,
believe
of course.
in the Shinobi.
How can I forget about that very popular piece of history when the Hanzo Hattori clan repelled the English Lombos that fought at Agincourt? A classic history.
Yeah.
We just whitewashed it because we wanted to be all about European power, right? We couldn't have the Japanese being Agincourt Lombos.
Well, I think it's going to be cool because the Coca Township is coming in. The Shinobi is going to be a little bit delayed to what we used to see, but I mean, I'm sure everyone's pretty used to that now. And across they will come. It's going to get immediately spotted by VortiX here, I think. Well, he's going to have to go a little deep into here. He might not. He has to find the landmark, though. So he's going to loop around.
He should full rotate. Because like, even if you didn't see it directly, if you don't see a Kurosto house next to TC or on the tree line, it's dead obvious what's happened here, right? So look at this. What a great nerf. Thank you devs for making Shinobi poop on a stick. And there's that outpost.
No.
Can I just take a bow right now? Like,
the Shinobi can dream.
I want to take a bow for VortiX's big brain play. He intentionally leaves it like this because he knows he's being scoured. He wants the tech up because once the tech up is done, there's no reversing it.
No, too late.
No,
yeah, I don't know.
So sorry, you say press the gold. No, there's no way. Like the Lombos are going to be there now. This is
the Lombos are going to be up. Oof.
And this is the thing.
But big brain, Longbows are coming, so you get out some horsemen. Hey, look at that. This is a game plan. We're gaming.
But Winston, hear me out.
Wolf Rush.
I have boats. Wolf Rush.
He's bringing them in.
Yeah, of course. You just like start blowing your dog whistle, right? And they follow you all the way across. Oh my god, he got scouted straight away. Wait, no, VortiX.
The Vills. They're going to leave the safety of the tower. VortiX. And here comes the Shinobi.
No. Back we go.
And away he goes. Yeah, the Shinobi like 3-shot Vills, right? Yeah, so it's really scary.
He might body block this. PuppyPaw?
No. He's going to have to train. He doesn't have the resources to train.
No, it's on the way already.
He immediately
It's just already on the way.
Yeah, I was like, I looked as he aged. I didn't realize he was faster than humanly allowed. Like faster than the game.
But keep in mind, like this is now really annoying.
No longbows.
Yeah, because you have to do water. You don't care about lombos, right? Like, would you rather have a lombo or a galley that almost has lombo range? The annoying thing, like both these players now suffer. Yeah, like both these players now suffer, Winston, because like for the Japanese, you're not getting your biggest advantage of water. You can't really build those cheap fishing boats, right? You need to deal with aggro.
Yeah, but he could just build. He has emplacement in like, what? Just a little bit of stone.
It's not going to reach the fishing though, so it's kind of a redundant play,
the galley gets delayed.
Yep. Yeah, but the Shinobi died. The Shinobi died. That's a bigger deal there.
He died for this.
Yeah, so now
he's like, live on, my brothers.
So this is a really good position for VortiX. Like I was waiting for it. The second dock is crucial here because if you delay a minute worth of production, you can get a big enough edge even with land eco to win that as the Japanese. But now, like losing your free Shinobi, this second one costs 120 resources. That's insanely expensive at this stage of the game.
And there's that galley.
Has he stopped?
Maybe just waiting for emplacements.
You'll lose this gradually if it's emplacements though, right? Oh,
yeah, I mean,
no.
I think the point is to force investment, right?
I think VortiX stops now though, right? Like you don't actually have to add in more until PuppyPaw does something. And I think PuppyPaw, like this is where this would turn into a meat grinder that doesn't favor you. I like what he's doing instead with the horseman. Goes for a raid on land. VortiX needs the garrison inside.
Not gonna
nice
kill.
body blocks. Sorry, are you just that guy that points out everyone he doesn't kill, not gonna kill, not gonna kill? You're like that guy standing behind someone in the firing range.
Yeah.
Going,
I'm feeling bad for Puppy. Sorry, this is just devastating my morale. I was so excited for the ninjas. Yeah, so it will be the emplacement on the water, by the way. So he is gonna just build it, but I don't know what it does. Like you're saying, like I feel like it's just annoying. I don't know if it like wins the water.
You just basically shoot and back away.
So the plan is run the demo.
The plan is to lose the one thing that could save you. Yep.
Wait, what the demo spawn on that side? The worst possible spot for that. Go next.
Go next.
No. That's not how we think here. We think about how you can win.
In game 3.
No.
It is pretty rough. Like he could maybe try for a 2 TC on land play. But those builds are quite dated, right? Like you usually still go for the fast castles. Maybe fast castle could still save him. Playing long feudal is not great here because VortiX has an eco advantage now, right? And it's like he also has premium units of his own in the form of Lombos. So we're probably just gonna be looking at a standard Japanese fast castle and he's gonna pray he gets there before VortiX.
Yeah, I guess that's the plan. The gold potentially pressured here a little bit, but shouldn't be too much damage.
You might be able to pinch.
Maybe.
Ooh, no.
Nice micro. He got it.
He got one, but he could have got two. Unfortunately, when he turned to attack, you saw it, right? He got pushed back behind the villagers. If he went for like half a second longer, he would have lost like an extra horseman, but he would have got 2 villies.
Is he hiding a range?
Oh, dude, he's... Let's go. It's the Yuumi game.
He's hiding ranges in the north.
Yeah.
Does he need to hide them? Like, there's no scout, right? No, whatever.
Like,
it's still a nice
wait,
detail.
what do you mean? There is a scout.
Oh, it's on the front.
Yeah,
it's on the front.
But
he's
like
hiding ranges.
Yeah, but this is really important. So actually,
I legit running the Yuumi forward.
Yeah, but listen up.
Okay, listen. I'm listening.
Yuumi can actually beat Lombo.
Yeah, you outspeed them. You just run them down.
Yeah, but it's not just the outspeed. It's the fact that Yuumi get overkilled, right? Because Lombos, they hit too hard. So, like, it's not efficient trading. So you just zerk him. Like, I genuinely believe Japanese is the pristine example of zergling Civ in AoE 4 now. Think about it. Onabagisha, the Mass Samurai strats, Yuumi. Like, most of the best options are about getting more units than their opponent. Right? It's like, it used to be Musafadi with that Zergling Civ, but I think really Japanese have taken that title. He just needs to buy time, though. Like, it's funny because HRE has a similar effect against the Lombos because of the rundown you talked about. It's just Japanese get that by default, and they get a lot of scalability. Like, that Steeled Arrow right now is adding 25% damage to this unit.
Man, VortiX is looking for blood here, man. He is just all in. This is interesting. He's added a lot of man-at-arms, which is going to slow down a lot of his eco growth, but he doesn't want an eco. He wants to kill his opponent, adding in the ram now. And the pressure's coming in. The third range is coming down for Puppy, so it's going to be Yuumi all in. With Horseman, the Bannerman on the way as well. Going to be the ranged Bannerman, so the Yuumi are going to have as much damage as a normal archer. And here comes Mr. Ram.
All right, VortiX. Here's the issue. That ram...
That's a lot of archers. That's a lot of archers.
Yeah, and here's the problem. Like, attacking this gold, it doesn't do anything, right? Like, that right now doesn't matter to PuppyPaw. He's got Undermesh, he's got Steeled Arrow. So you need to find his wood. You need to go buy it. You have to bypass it here. Archer's going to dive in. There is an arrow slit in that tower as well, so this dive from VortiX may be a little bit premature.
Maybe.
Spearman counts
the
low.
Longbows.
Oh,
yeah,
no. That is going to be all Lombos going down.
Look at that man-at-arms just getting owned here. Holy.
You mean, he can just be ignored. That's the stupid part about, like, Yuumi here. You
run
past. Yeah, it's like, bye, okay.
You kill the longbows. What a great engagement for PuppyPaw. The Vills get pulled as well at the same time to deal with the ram. And the Yuumi count gets low, but this army for VortiX is largely cleaned up. The ram lives. Huh?
He's
gonna shoot it?
Tell the tale? Like, I don't know what's happening now.
There it is. He shoots
gets rid of it. Yuumi are going to back away. He does keep the Bannerman alive. I love that detail. Remember, Bannerman are actually quite a bit more tanky than standard Yuumi, so a little bit harder to snipe down in small numbers. It's kind of like metas, right? Like when there's enough archers, metas die, but when there's a small number, they survive.
See, but behind this, isn't VortiX's economy just way better? Or am
Yes.
I missing something?
Like, yeah, yes, he's drastically better off right now. Because the Japanese, like, where is the economical edge? It's in farms, right? With daimyo. We've got daimyo, but we don't have farms because someone decided they really liked watching Naruto.
I don't think it was that big of a mistake. It just didn't pan out. Oh, big counterattack! Several of those are going
Yo.
down here. Not paying attention yet. VortiX does get the Vil pull now, but it's still...
No wheelbarrow. This is like a few more going down. Dude, that is sick. He
Whoa.
actually gets free at the tail end.
Whoa.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Bada
we have a game.
boom. That was an impressive play from PuppyPaw. 8 Vil kills now.
So this
VortiX
is-
got to be feeling a little rough there. Going to be repeating history, speaking of, going to be trying the ram play again, but now there's going to be a lot of Yumi on the field if the Bannermen come home.
And this is exactly what I wanted Yumi to be used for. Like, this is the thing that I've been begging people to, like, oh, no, Yumi suck. They need to be, like, buffed. They're not meant to just be this Lombo type unit. They are very efficient raiders. The momentum is in their speed. If you're outnumbered, don't fight. Like, go after something that's slower, that's easier to kite, right? Like, Village is there. You saw it. No wheelbarrow. VortiX cannot run away quick enough in those engagements.
I mean, yeah, PuppyPaw is going to play patient here and wait for his raiding force to come back to take this engagement, but I don't even think he needed to. I think he has enough here to fight. There's only 10 longbows here. That's not enough for this many horsemen in Yumi. And-
Also, VortiX didn't have undermesh this entire time, right? Like, it was heavily
Ugh.
delayed. Imagine how much better these fights, even the one we saw here earlier, would have been if he had undermesh
way
on time.
better. Yeah, like that would have made the Man-at-Arms way tankier, but now he's going to have it. And with 7 Man-at-Arms on the field, that's pretty good. And Puppy got to play patiently here. Interesting. Just going to back up, wait for reinforcements, and try to take a better engagement than what's being offered right now.
So depressing because men-at-arms charge, right? So they move faster than longbows.
Yeah.
It kind of just separates your fight in a non-beneficial way. And the problem is like that means PuppyPaw is trading, but well, it's not really trading. It's just one-sided engagement, right? Like you're doing damage without taking any. Another thing that's scaring me is like VortiX. Double ram now, you lost one before this. This outpost that's sitting idle incomplete. That's a lot of wood that's just kind of dead, right? Like it's just sitting there or unused. And the horseman now runs straight past the men-at-arms. Yumi are going to move in to engage that line. And this should just be an ignore. Move past the men-at-arms, chase on the lombos, and just keep chasing them back. But unfortunately, that outpost behind means that the attack damage increase is being offset by that sweet attack speed for the English.
Yeah, and the Bannerman's starting to get attacked a little bit, losing a bit of its health, but it's quite durable against these longbow shots.
This is
And
difficult.
that was a really good fight for VortiX. Like you're saying, he fought in the network of castles, and that made everything comfortable. And now he's going to be adding a second ram. The threat here is starting to grow. PuppyPaw does not have a food transition really available to him.
And he has
He's
no
almost
food
out of
for-
hunt on the north. This... Oh.
What?
Wow.
He's taking the deer from next to VortiX's base. That is wild.
Huh? That's a huh out of me, boss. But, I mean, I'll take it. Take what you can get. I like it from Puppy.
Rams.
But...
Here's the positive. We got a positive here, Winston. You have
What's the
many more
positive?
Yumi than normal archers, so they're better at killing the rams.
I think the problem is, though, that VortiX has 24 longbows to 27 Yumi. Yumi are good, but...
Not that good.
Yeah,
Villager
I think when
pull?
you have this many, the Vil pull comes out,
This is so much
and
idle
once
time.
again under network, and this is where the longbows are going to shine.
I mean, they're just getting free eco kills here. VortiX, you know, it looked a bit shaky. Props to PuppyPaw for trying to find a recovery arc with that Yumi spam, but unfortunately, it's not really spam when you have the same number as Lombos, especially with the attack
Well-
speed aura. This is ugly.
He's out of men-at-arms.
It doesn't matter. Like, the archer count's all that matters now, right? With the attack speed aura, you can't fight.
And the Bannerman died.
You did sound very deflated about that.
Yeah, it's not well. I'm sad.
It's like
yeah, I
my
wanted
dog died.
Puppy. I thought there was a hope here, but yeah, this position is so tricky. The fishing ship lead is just massive now too. If
He
we
still
took
has
a look
the
at that.
aura that deep. That's kind of crazy. Oh no,
It
no,
lingers a
don't
bit,
walk in
right?
range. Don't walk in range.
He's gonna try and take the fight, but look at the losses as he approaches. The Yumi just getting shredded by these longbows.
Remember,
Oh.
he has more here as well, right, Winston? Like, this production count for VortiX, that's not all the Lombos. So, PuppyPaw is using the entire Yumi battalion and still losing. Against, like, what? I think it was like 14, 15 archers instead.
Yeah.
This is brutal.
Can we take a look at the ocean real quick? Just check that. Okay, that's a big eco lead.
He's
right?
well off.
That's pretty massive.
Stop it. He's already dead. Like, it's got that feeling about
He's
it,
running
right?
in again. This man-at-arm bravely running in, but he's going to tank a lot of arrows that you have to ignore, and now you can't just A-move, you have to right-click, and the micro gets a lot more intensive, and now all of your Yumis are dead. The Bannerman goes down again, but his flag lives on. Oh boy, and VortiX just cleans house this game. Holy crap. I am not convinced about the Yumi this game.
I'm not convinced
It
about
seemed
the
solid
Township.
at times. Okay, that's fair. I think the biggest question mark was definitely the early game, but maybe just a matchup issue. Like, how do you stop English from going to the water if you're not going to invest in units, right?
I think you don't. Like, I think, honestly, you have to accept what it is. Like, the thing that's brutal is I've seen VortiX do this build before. And, if PuppyPaw has done his research and watched that series where PuppyPaw, where VortiX have done this exact same build against a Japanese player, I think it might have even been Wham. I think it actually was one of the Canadians. I'd have to double check. It was on Golden Heights. He literally waits intentionally until the tech up pings, and then he builds an outpost. Against the old Shinobi build, right, where you get the first one coming out, you might have like a thin veil of a chance of making it there in time to kill the outpost. Probably not still. But with this new build, with a 23-second delay, the game is like already decided at that point. I think the one way that he maybe could have made this work is with the Kuristo house, because in fairness to him, he made that look close, right? Like, imagine if this had instead been a Kura Storehouse play and he spammed Yumi. I like it because I think, it's similar to
He would
HRE
have had
versus English, where you
he would
just
have had a
get
food
speed.
transition,
Exactly.
right?
And that's
Like
the
he
thing
would have
ran
been
out of.
okay, right? But without it, he tried the coca.
I mean, we
And
literally watched him gather deer from right next to Vortex's base. He was
I mean, it
playing a
worked.
gambling game.
Don't knock it if it works, you know.
But now we're getting to this. We're going to be going towards Coastal Cliffs. This is a
Okay.
matchup we have not seen in a hot second, right? HRE versus Chinese. Feels like both of these civs kind of went to the side. I think like China was still very good for competitive. HRE has been a very big question mark for a lot of players. If I'm not mistaken, like historically, this matchup does slightly favor the HRE, right?
It does
I
a
think
little
so.
bit. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we've seen this matchup a lot on Holy Island historically in tournament play, right? Where both of them were really good picks on Holy Island when Roos was banned, right? Here, Roos is still banned. And this is kind of similar to Holy Island, just without the water component, obviously. Not sure what to expect. I guess HRE just tries to get relics, play for the middle.
Yeah.
But can't China just win?
How
I guess
does
that's
that
my
work?
question.
Do they just open the nuclear button and press the press the launch pad? Like, just win?
Barbican on route.
Maybe
Right.
like, okay, you could in theory like do a Barbican drop in the enemy base because like the wood lines tend to spawn forward, but they also then tend to like
Right.
bog up the gold. But like it's quite the pun. I have seen some really cheesy plays out of Chinese on this map where they don't even go Barbican, they just rush outposts. And
Yeah.
you are up against a civ that is allergic to building units, right? Like HRE hate having to drop production buildings before they're getting castles. So it wouldn't surprise me. I think PuppyPaw actually is the most prolific Barbican rusher in the tournament right now. We had a few games, the group stage, one where he literally just Barbican rushed his opponent out and had him pretty much dead to rights 8 minutes in.
Yeah, that sounds like a problem. But we'll see if VortiX falls for that kind of thing. I feel like not really. I feel like VortiX will have the right response here. Coastal Cliffs, though. It's a fun new map. I've really been enjoying Coastal Cliffs in this tournament. This is its first tournament, right?
Yep, first tournament. Avali, he created it over the holidays. He also created
Yeah.
bridges. Funny thing, there was a map tournament to decide some new maps to use in competitive, and Avali basically got all the top slots. And big shout out to Avali, by the way, because there was a prize pool attached to that, and he said, I don't feel right taking all the money. Disperse it amongst some of the other people who entered maps. It's the only fair thing to do. So big shout out, love that guy. But let's explain the map a bit, because Coastal Cliffs, I essentially just call it Dry Arabia on Slim Fast, right? Because it is, for all intents and purposes, meant to play out like Dry Arabia. You see fish in that water, but the only way you're accessing that is if you this is Sparta yourself off the side of the cliff.
It's kind of like Arabia, but at the same time, not really, right? I think only having 2 sacred sites kind of limits Delhi a bit. The stones are really far away on this map, right? Much further than on Arabia. You have a close gold, but not a close stone. And I think that also kind of makes 2 TC civs, like French, even weaker against like aggressive civs because your stone is just so exposed. So there's
mean
definitely
like-
some
like-
differences.
You mean 2 TC of like Chinese?
Yeah, but HRE isn't aggressive, like super early, right? Like they're not gonna
Yes.
like unless there's. Oh, I say that I was about to say unless you do something crazy like do Dark Age Spearman, and there's literally Dark Age Spearman on the map.
Well,
I'm clinically blind. Okay, guys, just
g-
let me go past. Never
it's
mind.
okay. Take a good look, folks. Next week,
Ah,
this is going to be every HRE game you ever queue into.
yeah.
I can't believe that Marching Drills buff is coming. Like, this is before that, by the way. This is not new patch.
Mhm.
This is kind of like your classic HRE still. This player is going to get buffed, though. Marching Drills is going to be there by default in the future, but this is really smart because it denies the opportunity for that Barbican rush you talked about. And this is
Yeah.
also a map that's pretty food sparse, right? There's
I think it's
not
also
much
because
to
the
get.
gold. The gold isn't under the TC on this map, right?
Yeah.
Another difference with Arabia, which
Well, like, keep in mind that the gold isn't the biggest
Painful.
deal because, like, you're not going to stop the Chinese from gathering enough gold for Imperial Academy in time, right? But, like, now what you do is he has limited food and he has to react to you in feudal age, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if VortiX now just goes greedy after this, especially considering he's got back gold mines. Oh, for
VortiX
God's
is
sake.
like, it didn't work with Mongols. It didn't work with Mongols against the Ayyubids, but I'm sure this strategy is good. So he's gonna do it again here.
Do you remember when we said, like, oh, the reason the Mongol outpost rush doesn't work is because everyone expects it?
Yeah, no one expects the HRE Inquisition, right? Everyone thinks it'll be the Spanish, but this time around, it was a Spanish player. I try. See, I kind of got you guys there. It's like a pseudo getcha, you know. Never
Well,
gonna give you
the witch
up.
hunt begins, and the Chinese may be at risk of being brought to their knees because we're probably going to see one of the most underwhelming Barbicans or a forced Chuganu spam. Which, if VortiX starts seeing that, that's where we'll likely see him just go, okay, Castle H. Because if you're going to build Chuganu, I'm just going to go rushing relics with knights.
Yeah, this is really interesting. This flips the whole script on its head. I love the way that Vortex is playing this. He's stopping the spear production at 4, so it's just for this tower. It, like you're saying, he would be able to prevent a really good Barbican position on the hunt and the gold, maybe on the south. It's gonna force a Barbican maybe on like the left if PuppyPaw is trying to get a really good Barbican spots, which he's gonna now have to do with tax gold. Interesting. It's gonna be a really late Barbican because he's queuing up officials, right? Yeah.
Well, here's the thought, right? Like any good barbecue usually involves burgers, right?
I see where you're getting at. I see where you're cooking. Continue.
Because you know, I'm gonna just say, you know, when people give VortiX like an 11 out of 10 for aggression, they're actually talking about the way he cooks his burgers. You know, they're very blackened. They come out a little bit too hard to munch. And this is the perfect moment for that type of play, considering that PuppyPaw is being denied resources. He doesn't have some like second TC boom because the stone's too far out. And if we check VortiX's food count, I think he's got like what, maybe 10 sheep left and a back spawn deer. I'm just saying, like, you know, you could just
Load of
bring these
wood.
spears back, push those deer in. Nah.
Why is he chopping so much wood? Does he need
Because-
one more house? I guess.
Yeah, he's gonna run out of housing soon. So
I guess that's it. Like chopping wood for the house and then going back to food and gold.
I legit think like he's gonna. You just bring the spears home and you push the deer out. In fact, PuppyPaw, I think he's going to snipe the deer now. Yo, check this to the south. Please tell me he's gonna do it. Like you have to read this for what it is, right? Like if you let him push these deer in, you're in big trouble. And wait, no, don't push yourself in. Oh. Okay, he gets away in time.
The spearmen are still tucked away in that outpost denying the gold, so
Yeah.
doesn't look like he's going to do that push play that you're talking about, although that is a very intelligent play. He has a lot of ills on wood, so I don't think we're seeing a burger. He's getting the spearman upgrade for his spearman in the outpost.
Is he just gonna
What
play
is he gonna-
atypical?
Is he going to do archers or something?
Wait, PuppyPaw's outpost rushing him now.
I think Vortex is going to go archers.
He needs to because the spearman coming towards his base right now.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. It also kind of denies the Jugnu mass if you have enough archers already. Like that, not denies, but like
Well,
gives
you
you
can kite them.
something.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
kite
it
them
gives
much
you
to us.
something other than nothing, right? But I mean, Jugnu are still a ways away if we're even going to get there in this game, right?
Yeah, you need song, right? Like, and there's no way your rush was that nice. Spent all that food. He has so many spears. He wants the
What?
outpost gone. Yeah, this is just he needs the outpost gone. Because
He
like
needs gold.
yeah, and look at where
That's a
his
weird way
second
of
gold
saying it.
is.
Yeah.
Like if he loves the feel of it, the touch of it, the smell of it, he needs to get rid of that outpost because that one is not touchable. And here we go, out into the stone. So VortiX, is he gonna play prolonged feudal 2TC?
Yeah. I guess.
This game is wild, and I'm here for it, man.
I'm lost. I don't know. This is outside of the box of theory.
That's
right?
what I want in my games, Winston. When you don't know what's going on, that's when the most fun comes out. I mean, not for PuppyPaw in this game, but
yeah, how could PuppyPaw predict what VortiX is gonna do if VortiX himself has no idea what he's gonna do?
is this one he reads the future, so I can't think about the future type situations, like an anime arc where you have to do stupid, chaotic things? But it's not stupid in this. It's actually quite big brain. It's going to allow him to, secure the deer on the backside. And essentially, PuppyPaw hasn't even moved the stone yet. So he's not looking for a 2TC rush himself.
Yeah. The archers are out. So the spearman mass now has to run away. And now we're going to go the other way. But the barbican will go up in the good spot, right? Like, my whole thought process behind the spearman being good was it would deny this. But it did for a while, right? It forced Puppy to create a ton of spearmen to protect, kill the outpost, and then he gets this.
Look at that second TC location. He's trying to snake it. So, like, it makes sense, right? PuppyPaw is going to be checking near your main base. He's trying to sneak his TC really off to the side. It's a bit of a gamble, because if Mass Chiganu do come in and they check that flank, like, that TC is gone, right?
He's got the deer and he's sending villas to berries. What in the world?
Well, he hasn't got the deer yet. He has to build the TC. And also, because he's sent these villages all the way out, he needs to get a mill because he's going to need wheelbarrow when crap hits the fan, right?
Right. Roy. That makes sense.
Roy, I'm sorry. Are you now like a British plumbing
contractor? Sorry. I just said Roy. Roy, bruv.
It's absolutely fine.
I'm just saying.
You just want to switch roles for this cast. You can be the British guy.
Roy. Okay, moving on. Jignu are on the way now that Song is in. This is kind of expected, and this is why I was thinking VortiX would have a mass of archers at this point, but because he's gone for the TC, he doesn't actually have that many archers. I thought he might be on like 2 range. So he's playing a slow, long feudal without much army right now, and I think there's a big risk here that PuppyPaw gets a blacksmith up, adds rams, and just has way more army, and can just pressure either this TC or the main base. It's tough to pressure the HRE TCs because of emergency repairs. Also, it's tough to pressure that TC because I have a feeling, just a hunch, that PuppyPaw has no idea that town center is there.
Well, like,
I think he's looking for it, right?
Let's keep in mind that transition comes in really quickly for the Chinese, right? Because you can get into the blacksmith and you can supervise to get into the steel arrow and the quick siege engineering, and then you can take that out. It's really easy to do, man. So I'd be really concerned that second TC might not reap the rewards that VortiX is hoping for.
Hoping for. Yeah, we'll see. I think you're right. I'm not sure though. I really don't know. Like, I think if Puppy invests in rams too soon, it could be a problem. But if he gets up to like 20, 30 Jignu and VortiX still isn't even threatening Castle Age, I think VortiX might be in some trouble.
Well, because like the issue is you've built a second TC, but the Barbican's kind of giving a pseudo second TC effect, right? And then you add 30%. in the IOs. Like, this is why loose second TC feels rough for HRE. And oh my god, not the production. No. He doesn't have to kill it. He just has to camp it. Anything coming out is a free kill.
Yeah, well, emergency repairs is going to help a little bit if these are in range. I think he snaked it correctly, right?
Chiganu should get some freebies.
Yeah, he could.
Wait,
there it is. Okay, I was like, huh?
Is it me, or is it kind of weird that like PuppyPaw's not a bit deeper, right? Like, because he could intercept those horsemen as they were spawning. I guess he's like a bit paranoid because the archery ranges could still be producing, right? Like, Chiganu can technically get kited here.
Yeah, you also just don't want... Oh my gosh, Veil picks too.
Oh god.
Nice play from Puppy.
The crazy part is that PuppyPaw's still on 1 TC, and look at the eco.
Yeah, I think... Well, keep in mind, there's 4 officials, so it's really 42.
It's still a crazy lead for a guy who got delayed on his barbecue time, right? Who got denied on his gold. Like, this is really impressive out of PuppyPaw. Reminder, this guy has not dropped a single game with the Chinese. He has 5 wins, 0 losses. He's by far the strongest Chinese player in this tournament right now. And we are seeing exactly why.
I think I was saying he would need Rams to pressure the main base. But if VortiX builds his base like this, you just don't need Rams. I'm not exactly sure what possessed him to build his base like this. Maybe he was thinking he had more time.
I think he was
but
hiding.
Now we're up to 36 Jugnu. Like, that's a lot of units, and there's a big mess coming in. They're going to hit the Berryvilles. And will VortiX notice?
No. It's happening all over again. Villagers are going to run away, but 3 more going down. He's going to repair on the archery range. But right now, he's heavily outnumbered. 16 versus 51 military. And he's building men-at-arms. You know what the problem with men-at-arms is here, Winston? They end up role-playing hedgehogs into Mass Chuginu.
I don't even understand what you mean by that. I know intuitively how it works in the game, but I don't know what you mean by role-playing as hedgehogs.
They are covered in so many spikes. They look like hedgehogs, my friend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pinatas. Let's see. So the town center is now being turned on, so it looks like Puppy has spotted this. We have siege engineering finally coming in, but yeah, he was able to kill a lot without it. And I think we're going to see the addition of the Ram right on the front there. And I don't see how VortiX keeps the TC alive in the north. He's going to have to find a way to evacuate, unless PuppyPaw just instead goes for the main base. Some of the Jugnu's going to get caught out.
Wait, calm down, lads. I feel like it's better to go for the main base here, right? Because the secondary TC, it's a generic Civ TC, right? Because he doesn't have the buff. But if you can start idling out the Archon area, then you are just miles ahead of VortiX.
And here's the Rams.
All right, let's get rid of the easy target.
The counterattack there for VortiX was okay. I think he killed 2 Vels on the Barbican hunt. But we'll see.
Is it clown car time? I feel like it's clown car time.
But it's such a big army. This is like exactly what you don't want to play into. This is why people tend not to want to play long feudals against China, right? Is this army right here with, like, it? That's just a lot of units, right?
But Winston, if we play against China like this, we're bound to get Chuginu nerfed.
So you're saying right now that VortiX's plan right now is to...
He's taking one for the team.
He's taking one for the team to try and change the balance of the game. Okay.
Oh man, 2 Rams. And this is the thing, Chuginu, like this many...
They're so good, yeah, against the buildings.
They basically hit the same damage as the Ram at this stage. Chuginu now
Yeah.
cut the reinforcements. All right, here we go, hedgehogs. Only they're not really Sonic Blue fast, so they're not even gap closing quick enough. Marching drills wasn't even in yet. VortiX. The fact that PuppyPaw is like, I feel safer underneath your TC right now, says everything it needs to here.
Yeah, that's really rough. And the army from VortiX gets just evaporated. And like that, he taps out. GG is called. And we are on to game 4 with a series on our hands, might I add.
Well, the news that we have for people, if they were upset by early today, it means we're at least guaranteed a bracket reset, right? Because like we split the maps.
But... A bracket reset? Huh?
A draft reset.
Yeah, a draft reset. After game 4, they'll do another draft. So the civs
where China can get picked again.
Where China could get picked again. But basically just another draft there because they run out of civs, right? With this current format.
Yeah, technically, like the current format, you could argue they can go all the way up to like 6 games, but I like that they reset because I think the problem is there's an elegance and art to outdrafting, but also it can get underwhelmingly obtuse if you get down to like the final pick and you're like, well, this is a GG because he got Mongols versus Ayyubids. Luckily, we didn't get a chance to say that because A, we get the reset halfway through, and B, everyone keeps picking Mongols Ayyubids first. Looking on to the next game though, we're going to be heading into Dry Arabia, and this should be a strong point for VortiX, actually. Delhi versus the Byzantines. Delhi's a very dominant civ. They're very pressure-oriented. Yeah. One thing I don't want to discredit, though, I think Byzantines already got overbuffed, Winston. And I think the upcoming patch is going to make them even more absurd. Right now, in the tournament, they're the most winningest civ, full stop, right? It was Order of the Dragon before them, but Order of the Dragon only had like a few games played. Meanwhile, Byzantines have a 62.5% win rate with 24 games played.
It's a lot of games. Yeah, it's and they're not really being banned at all. They're not taking that highlight away, even though they have that good win rate. So we'll see if that changes anything moving into the later stages of the tournament. But right now, yeah, the Byzantines for PuppyPaw going to be pretty solid. I feel like Biz really fits his playstyle quite well. Like you were saying, like the Boomy style where he's so good on China. I feel like Biz in some ways can mirror that, or at least play similarly in feel and vibe. And I feel like that's going to be really dominant. However, Delhi has also felt really, really solid in the last couple of tournaments. I think their timing in mid feudal is the best in the game, probably, right?
Yes.
They just have this point where they have like 2 or 3 production buildings all just spamming out units. They get the sacred sites, and it's just like, what do you do? They force you to fight. They force you to play their game. And the question is PuppyPaw going to be able to fight that? I don't really know. I think it's going to depend a lot on the map layout. I think it's going to depend on the mercenary choice. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I actually think the civs in the game, like the Byzantines, I'm not going to say they're favored, but they do better than most because the big problem with dealing with Delhi is the way they ramp, right? The double production, the way they extend. Byzantines haven't answered that, remember. The system gives the gathering rate to the entire economy. Beautiful. But on top of that, you get things like Conscriptio that gives you the increased production rate. Doesn't exactly match, but over time, it can kick in to be quite effective. We'll just have to see how effective it's going to be here. We hop into our fourth game. Guaranteed a draft reset after this one, but can PuppyPaw give himself a confident position getting up to match point, or are we going to even it up 2-2? We head into this game, VortiX with the dominant Delhi, PuppyPaw with his impressive Byzantines. He is yet to lose a series with his Civ. He has 2 wins overall. The only person who is left in the tournament who was doing better was his brother with 4 wins and no losses.
Yeah, so clearly they figured something out with the Byzantines. And they have a strat and they have a plan, and they've put a lot of work into the practice. But Delhi has been in the game for a long time, and VortiX is no stranger to how it plays. So we have to see if he's prepared for what PuppyPaw brings, because I feel like Puppy might surprise us with some of his choices, whereas with Delhi, like VortiX isn't going to do anything alarming here, right? Nothing is going to happen that we go, huh? You know, this is going to be a very standard Delhi game, I predict, and if that's the case, I'm just curious how Puppy's going to handle Biz, right? Biz, I feel like has a lot of options, a lot of opportunity for surprises, but also mistakes. So looking forward to seeing how he just like navigates this match, especially with the early feudal age. Does he give map control entirely and just try and hold? Does he try and play the map somehow? I don't know how, but maybe there's a way, right? Looking forward to it.
What if he does a solid in return? Like VortiX just tried to justify the HRE buff incoming. PuppyPaw can try to get something buff for the Byzantines. Let's go Hippodrome.
The Hippodrome isn't bad.
I don't even believe myself. I'm.
I mean, it has opportunities. It's just tricky.
So the issue
Probably
of Hippodrome
not against Delhi.
is like on paper, it sounds like one of the most broken feudal landmarks in the game. But in practice, it is so bad because of how easy it is to bait its use and then disengage, right? Like I think that's the #1 issue of Hippodrome. In this matchup, it would make your horseman better. There we go. He's going to be going for it. So Hippodrome play.
I think it's got value. I think the Canadian bros, Puppy and Wham, they also have this style where they go the Keshex from the Mercs alongside the Hippodrome, and
yes,
you get a lot of synergy instantly with that. The Keshex get a lot of value out of the healing, because it
does
combos
make
with
you
their own healing.
one-dimensional though, right? Like it literally puts you pulled into one unit comp entirely.
True, but you can solve that later, right? The idea is that you just have a lot of power with that combo right away.
And he goes on.
Yeah, he's going to bury, so he wants some mercenaries, right? Like his game plan does revolve around that.
This is a different build to what I've been seeing with the Hippodrome opener. I think B especially and Louis have been doing this, where they will actually pull all the villagers across onto the berries very early. It's a slightly later feudal age timing, but it guarantees when you kick it, you immediately are able to pump the Keshex or whatever contract you want, right?
Yeah.
It has to be Keshex here. Like there aren't many matchups where I'm like Hippodrome Keshex feels great because
maybe Longbows though.
Yeah, but Longbows is very slow, and you're all about tempo, right? Like you have to move around the map.
That's why Delhi usually just takes a crap all over English. Is when a map is wide, it's really annoying to try and shut them down because your lombos don't move.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be really tricky here. Even if you go Keshik, like Delhi have great spearmen, Delhi have great horsemen, right? Like I feel like Delhi just has a lot of answers to everything here, especially early feudal. Oh, the sheep clash, they bonk into each other. You see that one sheep? He was like, "Hey, get out of my way," and the other sheep was like, "Meep meep." You know, never mind.
We need to give them. They need to have collision.
Collision. Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine running a scout through the middle of a fight to like keep the spearmen back?
And there's like blood. Never mind.
What?
I was imagining
I meant when
collision like a crash, like they would crash into each other, and the sheep just like
Well,
splatter.
how
all
about they
over the place.
ragdoll? They just go crashing
Yeah.
into each other and fly over each other.
Perfect. Now you're talking
Oh.
my language.
I need that. I just love the idea of one clumsily rolling over the side and then just getting up and just skipping after the scout.
Oh man.
So, tech up complete. We've got the first horseman coming out. One interesting thing about playing Hippodrome is if you can survive the first few minutes and be in good shape, Triumph isn't like the be-all end-all. It's the fact you've now got horsemen that are going to raid a civ that aren't staying underneath their TC, right? And
Yeah,
that's
the
going to be
berries.
advantageous because VortiX, you need something that moves fast into his economy because he actually got a really good spawn. Berries and deer behind the base means a slow-moving army wouldn't be able to starve it.
Yeah, so VortiX just spotted the hippodrome there, I think. It was like, oh crap, horseman. Right.
The other thing I like about the Hippodrome in this matchup is I always say if you want to try to have an edge over Delhi, you need to force them off of their Ghazi opening. This is the type of thing that would make you think twice about Ghazi. He's going to go for it anyway, because you can kind of kite Triumph to a certain degree, right? But like, it doesn't feel great now because you do have an instance where big clash, if it occurs, if it's not raiding damage consistently, you're going to lose the fight, right? That's where Triumph is best.
Yeah, if you can force the fight and your opponent has to engage, Triumph is just super strong. But it is limited, and those windows are rare, right? So it's going to be up to Puppy to finding and using those windows. And so, yeah, going to be Ghazi with Spearman support.
I love it.
Interesting
He's just
delay
waiting
on the
for the deer
archers.
move.
Hmm.
I wondered if he would like kill a few there, but like the fact he didn't kill any, I think he was suspicious that VortiX might come out onto the deer, which would be kind of weird anyway. But he's at least wasting their time. More horsemen coming, and it is indeed going to be the Keshik play.
Yep, Keshiks it is. It makes a lot of sense. They've been doing this for a long time. I say they, just Puppy and Wham. I think both have been seeing the value in that. And I wonder if they've had some practice games where they're like, holy crap, this is really good on Arabia or something. So we'll see that first wave of Keshiks coming out now. So now, yeah, like you're saying, they are trapped into a cavalry combo. But the idea is if you take one really, really good fight, you then buy yourself the space to build a more diverse composition later.
And you need that because the reality is like if you played infantry straight away, you have to remember that you're playing into a Delhi advantage there, right? Because if this turned into a full infantry blob, there's a 20% quicker attacking. So I like the idea. I'm hoping we're not going to get the build that you see just south of the border of the Canadians, which is the Fast Castle Cataphat follow-up with System the First Deal. I'm not going to talk about that build. It did happen in some tournament qualifiers. I won't.
It's fun. It's fun.
No,
it's
no,
just
stop.
very hard. It's just very hard to play, and it's not the strongest build. So I think that's kind of where it struggles a little bit, but
Yeah.
it has potential at times.
I do
The
wonder...
elephant with
No,
sister.
please
Have you ever seen it? It's really fun. It's really fun.
I'm gonna let me just quickly mute you. I actually think like Hippodrome looks best when you
Alright.
play Merc houses on the trade posts. I just don't think PuppyPaw can sadly do that in this type of game, right? Because like Ghazi will spot you going out on the flanks quite easily.
I think Puppy's gonna try and contest this right now. I think we're about to have an explosive fight. Triumph is gonna have to get popped at the right time. Oh man, I just sat up more in my seat, and then now I'm sad. Okay, so he's not gonna take the fight. He's gonna give away the first sacred site.
What if
He's
we kill
waiting for
villagers?
archers to deal with spears. It's too many spears, right? So he's gonna wait for archers to get.
Well, he's trying to cut the trickle, right? Because like,
Yeah.
I liked it from PuppyPaw. He was trying to panic VortiX into running the extra troops out, and then intercept the reinforcements. But VortiX, great discipline here. Just camps at home. PuppyPaw, is he going to activate it?
No way. You don't want to waste it, right? You need it. I think if you're expecting to have a big fight in the center over a sacred site later, you're gonna have to plan for it. And man, these sacred sites kind of favor the south side of the map, but there is one way up in the north. That is a really split sacred site spawn. That might be really tricky for VortiX to get control over while maintaining the middle one, which kind of favors PuppyPaw's side of the map.
I think in this matchup now, because you know it's Hippodrome, you don't really feel like you need all 3 sacred sites, right? Like 2 is a good eco advantage because your opponent has got his eco advantage. Now instead he's going to lose troops here, and he activates the Triumph.
Is there a fight in the middle?
I think he went on the sacred site, but I don't think there's much there. No, that's exactly what you can't do, right? Like, that is exactly the problem with Triumph. If you misuse it, that first charge lasts a long time, but if you're up against Mass Ghazi,
it's over. That was a really rough moment. I wonder if that was a misclick or just panic because he's like, oh, I need to kill these before they kill my vills.
He sent the whole army south to deal with a scholar. Like, he sniped a scholar, sure, but I don't think Triumph is usually needed for that.
I don't even think he got the scholar. Did he?
Did he not? There's the second one being produced.
He's killed one unit. I think it's a Ghazi, right?
Might be. I don't trust army value these days. Yeah, 130. Yeah, he killed a scholar.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, he had 2. He's reproducing now.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So he didn't even kill a Ghazi with the Triumph activation, so now he's gonna have to wait.
Just as you typed him, it's like, okay, can we chill for another 5 minutes? I need to replenish.
Replenish. Yeah. So the archers. Oh, he has Triumph again already.
For 3 seconds. Then it's gone.
High value. For 1 auto.
Spear count's low, but honestly, that's a lot of horsemen, and Keshik's being sacrificed.
It's a lot of archers.
Make sure he mops up the archers to make it worthwhile. Actually, a really good fight for PuppyPaw. The Keshiks worth their weight in gold there.
Yeah,
Oh, the second scholar? Oh, no. The Keshik goes in. This is such a big kill. Remember, VortiX, he doesn't have any gold trickle yet.
Holy crap.
By God,
I am so impressed by this from PuppyPaw. So even with the accidental click on the Triumph, he was able to take the fight. The Keshik edition really adds a lot of beef to the Biz army, and there were enough archers here, and he just took the engagement against the Spearman, and VortiX is just gonna call it. What?
Dude, that was insane. We need to really like dissect what happened there with PuppyPaw. That was incredible. So like the Keshik spam was high enough, as you mentioned. The short Triumph looks ugly, but it's like it's still bonus damage while you're whittling away.
It was
that
one
wave
attack.
Of archers coming
it was one attack. Like I don't know if it was that.
No. But it's like so. No, it's 3 seconds, so 6 extra HP per unit. You're already into.
No, but he was microing. He got one attack with most of his cav.
But let me finish. Let chill.
Okay,
because here's the important knock-on detail that makes it really good there. Because there's no capture of sacred sites, there's no escalation to the Delhi's production. Delhi can't get enough backline together, let alone spearmen together. You have to remember that he lost that scholar. He had to reproduce a second scholar to try and capture another sacred site. That means he's getting outproduced because with system level 2 plus a stable archery range added in, you have a superior production rate than the Delhi. It's a rare instance where you can actually outmass them at 12 to 50 minutes. And I want to applaud PuppyPaw because that was sick execution. That first Triumph was ugly. It didn't really do much. But because he denied the scholar, at least, it completely unraveled the game for VortiX.
Well, I think there's a little bit more to it there, right? Typically, like historically, the way that Delhi plays on Arabia is not opening with the stable like that. I think that may have slowed him down a bit, right?
You always open stables as Delhi. Like you only open something other than stables if you're forced to, right? It was a little bit surprising.
A lot of people, but against what I mean is against a night sit.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. But like that's the thing, right? Like it's a discount
against...
night. That's why he thinks it's good to. In Vortix's mind, like kind of get where he's coming from. He's like, it's Hippodrome. They turn into worse nights for a small instance, right? So I don't blame him for the Ghazi opening. It's still your premium unit. The problem is like he got in, he denied that wall, but then he was kind of content with that, right? Like imagine if he tried to, after the Triumph ended, go into the enemy base and continue to raid with the raiders, right? Like I think that's the sticky issue. Is it's almost like he gets confident when he sees that he's like killed the scholar. Sorry, when he's like forced to triumph rather, and he's like, oh yeah, this is great. I can now go back and play a macro game as the Delhi, which is very deceptive. I think like the big trick for VortiX is Hippodrome is really underexplored still. It's very difficult to execute, and Grand Winery is a safe bet. And if you think about it, if you had to draw the percentages of contracts, I feel like 65% of contracts are the Western. Then like 30%, maybe 35% of the remaining is the Malian contract with the Javs, right? There's not many examples of Keshet games for you to kind of sink your teeth into.
I kind of stopped listening because I was looking at the draft.
All right. Well, we'll move on from that one.
I'm
But
just saying. I'm just looking at it, and because there's something a little alarming. Puppy let Ottomans through,
Wait,
but got China.
is that really?
I feel like
for
it's
him that's an edge, but like it's still you're giving over Ottomans. The irony is VortiX, the
Why?
guy who's like Ottomans not that great. I let them through all the time. Chose them.
robot.
Reconnect. Vodka. All right, we are back. Apologies for that, folks. Oh man, this is so. The draft is a little bit funky. I will give you that. But here's the interesting thing: PuppyPaw still actually got his Byzantines again, and legit, like I will back this guy on Byzantines. We already mentioned this. Like he's impressive on them. We just saw exactly why he has the flexibility. The interesting part to me is like the Mongol Malians at the end. It's my worry is like VortiX. This game, if you get Ottomans and your back's up against the wall, your first thought is pick Ottomans, right? Like you instinctually just go pick Ottomans. So what's PuppyPaw's mindset? Like what is his counter here? Is it English? Is it Byzantines? I feel like it has to be Byzantines, especially on a map like Lipany, right?
You think he just does back-to-back Biz?
I think so. I think Lipany is a really good map for Byzantines, and they, surprisingly enough, I feel like the aggro timing hits better than the English. Like the English have a better timing for the first 6 longbows, but then Byzantines just feel better after that, right? Because they have a huge eco buff, right? They have 10%, then they just go up from there. Whereas the English don't even get any sort of eco buff until they build farms first.
I don't think you want to go Biz against Ottoman. I don't think that works very well.
You don't think Longbow Limitane is like a perfect counter to the late game Ottos?
Late game, yeah, I guess. I don't think Biz worked for the Castle Age timing.
You just camp with Longbows, right? Okay, no, he's going China. So, confidence surging. He's going up against the Ottomans with his unbeaten China. Reminder, he's now at 6 wins in the tournament, no losses with this Civ.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. I think China makes sense. They both just picked their first pick, right? Because for PuppyPaw, I think he's looking to clinch it with this draft reset. And I think VortiX has to just put strongest Civ first, right? He's got Ottomans, Japan, Mongols, and Mali. And he did ban Ayyubids so that he could play Mongols.
I guess he's saving
Maybe
the
that could have been a play
Byzantines for like the Japanese matchup if it's predictable, and then you get like
Yeah.
Jeanne d'Arc versus Malians or Mongols. So I think the Jeanne d'Arc Mongol matchup is like it's kind of 50-50, right? Because Keshix can kill Jeanne, but you're trading against Jeanne, right? Is often the case. So like it's acceptable.
Maybe.
And then the English is just like we don't need to go that deep, right? Because like of these matchups, unless you can get like an English Japanese situation. But then I feel like the English is not going to get picked here. I feel like that's a very risky pick for PuppyPaw. Everything else makes sense though, right? For the remaining games, like you could easily see Chinese, Jeanne d'Arc, and Byzantines doing well here. This is interesting.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing to actually kind of have this situation where you get into this point in the draft where there's a complete refresh and he's like, okay, we've seen some hands, how they're going to play out. We have to go from the get-go again. I actually like love that implementation of the draft.
I mean, it's a bit confusing, to be honest. I get a little lost, but I think it makes a lot of sense, right? It's cool to just have to think about it again, right? We get some of the same matchups or different matchups, even though we get repeat saves. It's interesting, that's for sure.
I think what I like the most about it is that there are situations where draft runs its course to the point that it's, I don't want to say underwhelming, but it's like, okay, the outcome is just foretold, right? Like you look and like, oh, we've got English and Malians left there. It's like, well, we know how that's going to go. I like the idea of a mid-series redraft because it gives a reset and there's comeback potential, right? In that it's not just about you drafting. The draft still matters,
but it's not the be-all, end-all. I think this is the best drafting format we've probably had in AoE 4 to date.
Probably. I think it's also really helps that there's so many civs now that it's enabled. And it also really helps that there's a lot of good maps in this tournament. I think that to me is really exciting. It doesn't feel like there's a single map in this tournament that feels like a throwaway or a bad map.
Yep.
Every single one just feels hype and cool, and they're all still unique while offering AoE for like classic experience. And I think that's really, really, really cool. I'm trying to think about how this matchup plays out in late feudal.
It's 2TC. Like, it's going to be very hard to dive.
A boomy game, yeah.
Maybe I don't think you fast castle Chinese, right? Like that, because Palace Guard can get shredded quite easily by Janissaries when you tow, right? So like if it's castle sort of thing, China would get there quicker. But I don't think you'd feel stronger for it. And like this, you could argue with the way the deers and berries spawn, you have a lot of food flexi, so maybe that's an option. But I find that fast castle build for the Chinese works better against civs that have to come out under pocketed resources, right? Whereas Ottoman players, they just get a Madrasa and they stay at home.
I mean, it's Lipany though. There's a chance that you get a really wallable base, right? And I think if you get that like really cliffed in resources, and you have like Barbican on the one main choke point in the center with the stealth forest, I feel like that could make it really hard for Ottoman to punish 2TC Song Boom into just like the classic maybe Palace Guard B in early castle. I feel like still Ottomans have a really threatening dive on that late feudal, because there's just a point where they just have so much military, right? So it's sort of like, I'm trying to think of like, if you try and play defensive here as Puppy, you're gonna have to kind of put up a masterclass in defense, because Ottoman pressure like hits right when China, I feel like, is the weakest in most of their classic build orders. I think there is obviously the option of just mash Yugnu again, which I think would be how you deal with the Ottoman play, but I feel like there's a risk there that Ottomans could turtle and get to, one mangonel, and then suddenly they have free mangonels on the field, and it's like kind of a reset there. So I think there's a bit of a threat there. I'm just trying to predict a bit what Puppy might do. I don't know. I feel like he has to set the tempo, right?
So here's the thing. There's a lot of people that are dirty, prolific Ottoman spammers on the ladders, right? And I imagine PuppyPaw has been secretly practicing the Chinese somewhere we can't see. He's probably had some scrims with Magic. I know that both of them love China, but Magic also loves Ottomans a lot. So he got some practice in there. But he's probably just been Tom, Dick, and Harry on the ladder, and we just didn't know it because he changed his location in the world and made a new account, right? I've seen this from PuppyPaw already. I know. I think he's got like a South American account. I'm pretty sure he's got a European account. How did he do that, Winston? How did he create those accounts and pretend to mark himself somewhere else in the world?
He invested in Surfshark by
that must be it.
Getting it through EGC TV's link, and he supported the tournament that he's getting paid to play in.
And he got 3 months free, and it cost him like
he hid strategies. Yeah.
For like $3, right? Like, and it's not just good for tournament players. It's good for you people in pubs, because I know, like, I come from a dirt background. I have way too many games on Hoodwink. You know what happens? I get in a game, they ban Hoodwink straight away. It's happening to you on the ladder as well, so save yourself from that. Use the code EGCTV over at Surfshark. Get 3 months, only £2.50 a month. But now, it's time to see if VortiX is going to be dishing the pounding, or if it's going to be receiving it here. We hop into Lipany. Game number 5. PuppyPaw on match point. VortiX. Ottomans are so overpowered and powerful, Winston, that they have crashed the game.
That is just impeccable stuff. So this game crashed, ladies and gentlemen. So we will have a quick reset here. Same civs, same map, new map. Or sorry, same civs, same map, but new map draw, right? So just completely new game. Yeah, that's life sometimes. Sometimes you eat the bear, and sometimes the bear eats you. The trick is to not dislike that, because that's life.
To not get eaten by the bear?
No, sometimes you just get eaten by the bear. That's life, man.
Like, so, but they say a bear only attacks if you move. So if I just like stay still, am I definitely getting eaten by the bear, or am I less likely to get eaten by the bear?
Isn't that like from Jurassic Park? I think bears can see. like things, I think
I
they
mean,
could
but
attack.
they
if you
get
want.
angry when you move, right? You know what I'm hearing, Winston? I'm hearing that we're doing research on bears because bears are getting added to the game. Care to
Huh?
comment?
No. All right.
The stronghold player in me just wants to watch a bear
A
walk
bear?
into a Chinese base and just maul 20 villagers before dying. Chinese player just shrugs, goes, "I'm 2TC Song. It doesn't even hurt." But
Mhm.
like it's fun. This gives us a little bit more time to kind of dissect this matchup because I think there is some interesting timings in Feudal Age. One thing to notice is the Ottoman players, they're slightly less aggressive at the beginning of Feudal Age than they were before because most of them are going for the Anatolian hills to get more food, right? So you're not seeing that ramp up immediately where they get an imam heal and a melee mosh pit or they get a meta straight away. And that
Hmm.
means that I think like, most of the time you're seeing Chinese players actually get their Barbican mostly for free as long as they don't get overzealous with its placement.
Yeah, I think what's actually lucky for PuppyPaw, and I'm gonna say this, it's a bit lucky that he re-rolled that map because his map spawn was not very good for Chinese defensive play early. So I think like the fact that this is a crash, I like kind of benefits him a little bit. VortiX had a really interesting map where it was pretty tucked away in the north there, whereas like PuppyPaw had a very open front. And I think if we get a reroll where they swap positions or something in a similar style map, that could be huge.
This is why I'm not allowed to compete because like I would just keep re-rolling. I get in and I just type sorry trees, right? And just go again. Now that's a reference to Puppy
You
Paw's tree.
load,
Like
you look at your map for 2 seconds, Alt F4. That's
it's
so
like, oof.
BMKP. Did you just blatantly admit that you would cheat if given the opportunity?
No,
Oh man.
no. I said
That's
that.
why.
I said that I conveniently just have trees falling on my power lines. Okay, that doesn't sound believable in the UK.
That did happen. Didn't that happen a
That
couple
did
years
happen
ago?
to Puppy
Was it
Paw. Yeah.
Genesis?
That
No, it was one of
no,
the
it was
Red Bull
after
tournaments.
Genesis. I think it's Golden League. Golden League, if I
Golden
remember
League,
correctly.
right?
It's
Yeah,
either
I
Golden
remember
League
that.
or Road to Red Bull Wololo. They had
I remember
a
seeing
power
the
outage.
picture. Yeah, I remember just seeing a picture of it. Like, huh?
Because they were like, just so you guys know we're being honest, here's a picture of a tree.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is time. We have not crashed. Can confirm. We're at least going to get 2 minutes in this game. Game 5. PuppyPaw, his signature Chinese, yet to be beaten on them. VortiX on the Ottomans, the unstoppable Civ. The Civ that he has consistently let through. He
Oh, look at the
now
map for
wills.
Puppy.
Wait, what?
It feels it's so
Oh.
secure.
The
It's
Barbican
so.
drop is going to be disgusting.
You think he's gonna Barbican drop?
Like, you drop those 3 resources there, right? And then you wall off the north side where the deer is.
Oh, I thought you meant like a forward,
no,
like
no.
in
No, we're
Vortex's
not
town
running
center,
to-
Barbican drop. That's what that's called. You just mean like, yeah, it's just like a very cozy Barbican. The food is a bit far, to be fair, on Puppy's map, but I think the rest of it, like,
Yeah.
it's just so cozy.
Yeah, the second deer is weird. It's in a
just
safe place on a
chill.
high ground, but it's so absurdly far forward, you'd probably
Yeah,
never
you
go
don't-
for it.
You don't. I mean, maybe a Barbican, like, kind of on the south side of that, but I don't think so. I think you Barbican your gold and your stone, right?
If you're in a Delhi game, yeah, but like, yeah, in a game like this, you just play it safer.
Yeah.
VortiX on the other side does go for that standard opening with the military school. Interesting thing about this opening that makes it so Ottomans is that not only can you try to harass your opponent initially, but the Spearmen have an added benefit afterwards, and that's the deer push. A lot of these Ottoman players have been getting up to 3 spears and then starting to tech up. And they move their 3 spears across, and they can basically corral all these deer home.
Yeah, but I don't think we've seen Vortex do that yet. Right? Not in the tournament, I believe. I think I saw Crackety talking about that earlier, right? Like,
That was
Not
an
every
HRE game
player-
where he outpost rushed, right? Like,
yeah, but
this-
not every player is doing the spear push, the spear deer, the
I
spear
think
deer
it's-
push. Is that
gonna
what it's called? SDB. I'm worried that's
The-
a bad
the
acronym. I don't want to guess acronyms.
the spear deer steer. That sounds like a dance. Either way, it's gonna become
What kind
more
of dances
more
are
relevant.
you doing?
Ones where I have to avoid spears while dancing with deers. Clearly, no one wants a Bambi repeat. The interesting thing though is like as the meta keeps developing, I think actually like this year deer pushing is going to become such a critical element as we move on. Like it's actually insane how valuable it is, especially if you're in a meta where 2TC is not as viable, right? Like it gets punished a lot more.
Right. Yeah, because the second TC is just historically like the last like year and a half or so, even longer, the second TC just goes like directly on top of the deer, kind of regardless of what's around it, just to keep the food safe, and it secures your castle timing, right, and military production if you need it. Whereas now that the 2 TCs kind of fallen out of favor due to balance changes and just the meta as well shifting with those balance changes, we've seen a lot of players do some things to secure the deer or do different builds that are less reliant on them.
And what makes this really powerful for the Ottomans is like if you have that deer, right, you could technically do a fast sim. I'm not saying he's going to do it, but like it gives you that option on the table with the extra food and Madrissa. The other interesting thing is the Spearman Opener benefits most because there's different aggro ranges, funnily enough, for different like units. And I remember talking, I can't remember which pro it was. I was talking to him like over a year ago about it. And apparently Spearmen have the lowest aggro range, which means they can get as close as possible to the deer and keep shoving them, right? So you get more accurate push-ins, basically.
Interesting. Who knows? Maybe VortiX will surprise me and do it this game. It's definitely an option for that right deer pack for him. But
especially against
yeah,
the stuff like the Chinese, like unless the scout goes over and denies them now, like this has usually been the downer. Is like when you make that play, people come back and snipe you. It looks like VortiX instead though. Those spearmen are just
Taxman.
He got stabbed once, twice. Okay, yeah, and fine.
I mean, you say he's fine. Is he fine? Like, he looks
he like
okay,
that
but have
dramatic
you
tax
asked
man?
him, is he okay? He might not be mentally okay.
Is it like one of those dramatic taxman characters in a movie? He's like, oh, he hurt me so badly, and just shows you like a really tiny bruise on his arm.
Sure.
To death. That's his punishment. So Archer's coming from PuppyPaw.
All right.
I guess he's going to go for... he's not going for stone at all, right? Like, he needs to actually resecure this area. There is an Archer play coming out from VortiX, though, and this is the kind of thing that gets scary, is like when you get drawn deeper and deeper into this feudal age as the Chinese, you feel more and more uncomfortable in the game, especially if it's actively denying you getting to your Song Dynasty point.
Well, especially against Ottomans, right? Because as Ottomans start to approach late feudal, that's when all of their timings just start to click in. That they get all their upgrades and their production rates are really high. If they need more production buildings, it's really cheap for them to tech into them. The military schools have just been consistently paying off. And then bang, suddenly you have 60 units in your base, right? Like it's really scary how quickly Ottomans go from 25 units and you have like 20 or 30. And then suddenly Ottomans have 50 or 60 and you have like 35. It's very, very quick how quickly that can spike. So it's up to PuppyPaw here to figure out how to defend this. Where is he going to put his Barbican, you think?
It has to be right side, right? Like, maybe he goes left because it's closer to the enemy base, right? It's like a full position type thing. But for now, like, I'm curious, PuppyPaw, does he actually just try to full aggro here? Because, like, VortiX, he doesn't have active production. He's done the greedy Ottoman build where he sets up the military schools first.
And it looks like Puppy's just going to be spamming out Archer Spear, something you don't see often from China, but it is really doable. And what's interesting about the strat is pre-song, you can actually still get decent timings on certain upgrades, like economic upgrades, or even if he adds a blacksmith in, you can get it really quickly because these units are still generating a ton of attacks back, right? So the discount is big.
This is genius from PuppyPaw. VortiX is going to TC.
Yeah,
like, he has no reason to gather more stone, right? He's got 2 military schools. Like, he's going to TC because he assumes this is a typical Song Dynasty Chinese game, right? But
not anymore. He sees 8 archers.
Yeah, but this is the problem. By the time he sees it, he's already delayed, right? Like, I think, yeah, he's still actively gathering stone. I think he just pulled back. So it's still wasted time. He's having to set up outpost now and condense himself. And this is difficult because if you look at that blacksmith placement, there's no safe spot now to build additional production buildings.
This is a Barbican coming up.
Are you kidding me?
He's gonna He's gonna build a Barbican on. Oh, I was hoping it would be more on top of the military schools to camp them, but right in between the forests here is really spicy.
Hear me out. You set up more production buildings here afterwards, so you aren't disadvantaged, right? Because like right now, if you keep adding more troops, they run across the map. VortiX has a comeback, and now VortiX, he's genuinely trying to go for a fast castle here.
That's crazy. With no military buildings. I mean, he'll have to add a stable and I guess try for Lancers? Or man-at-arms, maybe a barracks or man-at-arms.
You have to do
okay
men at
here.
arms. It's
But-
annoying because
but-
the Barbican, but you have
But
to
you
do
know,
men-at-arms.
Zhugnu are on the way, right? Surely Zhugnu get trained now, right? And if you have like 15 men-at-arms, or sorry, if you have 15 Zhugnu,
This is so PuppyPaw. I remember when this guy started playing Age of Empires 4. He was a filthy, stinking outpost rusher, right? His average game time, Winston, was 12 minutes. He only played Chinese and Mongols. He perfected it. I think I even have a video on my channel somewhere called Agent Sheep, where he snuck sheep into the enemy wood line so he could outpost snipe them. He lived on it. He thrived in it. He bathed in it. And I love that all these years later, like all this evolution as a player, all the different things he can do. And on the deciding game, like when he's on match point, he's basically going back to his traditional Barbican outpost rushing.
I think the problem here for VortiX is he's playing on less than a screen of space. Like, he is so closed in here. He is so scared of the outside world. Everything he has is on your screen. That
Where's
one
his food?
shot is literally everything he has.
Look
What
at
food?
this.
He's got
Yeah.
the madrasa and berries.
But that's why this outpost is important, right? That's why he needs to stop it,
Yeah.
because if this outpost goes up, you can't gather Madrasa.
He's
Take up
gonna
the
have to
fleet.
wait for this first ram, or sorry, this first mangonel. Trebuchet.
Could you imagine if you accidentally...
Trebuchet. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It'll deal with the Barbican and the thing, but it won't deal with the Zhugnu mass because the mangonel will help with that, and also maybe help deal with the outposts. I kind of would have preferred the mangonel maybe.
He's
but I'm
actually
not sure.
saying here now, he's like, I need more food. You don't mind if I borrow yours, right? VortiX just being completely like covered in gaffer tape. He's like, I can't answer. Undermesh is coming in. He's now queuing up the lances. He's moving very far away to gather his wood. So that's kind of a danger point. Luckily, you are against low-moving units of the Chinese, right? So it should be able to threaten you.
They're wiggling around the south here. Not really going to be able to sneak by. That outpost is really clutch to preventing that rotation around the back. Wow. This looks really threatening, but I'm starting to get a little worried for PuppyPaw. He's going to be adding rams. Oh, so he's just full sending it. Okay. Okay,
You
full
have
sending with
to.
rams.
If you wait, like he's already worried about that mango play, right? When he comes out as Treb, he's gonna be like, oh, thank God, I've got 2 more minutes. But it's all about getting like 3 or 4 rams and going. Because the other issue is VortiX, because he chose Lancers, he's not really accruing many melee units quickly, right? It's not like when you do men-at-arms spam.
I don't know if this works. I think what VortiX is doing is really smart. So he's investing in a few Lancers, and I think he's sending them north, right? I think there's one right now, a little north of his base.
No, that's the amount.
That's not the. It is what it is.
No, Winston, if they
No, it
get
is.
up there and
I
they
was right.
roll low,
But these Lancers are going to apply a lot of like mental pressure to Puppy, right? Like he's going to have to find a way to deal with them. He's going to have to keep Spearman around his eco. He's going to have to keep track of his economy rather than just focusing on the front, right? Whereas where he wants to put his attention. And now his next army is going to be a little delayed to supporting this. Okay, this might be a bit of an overinvestment, I think, from Puppy
the other
potentially.
problem, yeah,
This is a lot.
He's quite committed, but like, look, he's starting to actually macro up a bit, right? That's a lot of food and gold now in reserve. And you have to remember, over time, Song is adding more villagers in. The interesting detail to me, though, is like, you see all these outposts and you go Treb. We have to remember Trebs, they're not exactly what I'd call a sniper elite boy, right? They have a tendency to whiff on some shots. So these outposts might take longer than is ideal to take
would
out.
like-
And no.
The wood line.
Keep vision, VortiX. He's going to see this and shift away. PuppyPaw, he went a little bit too deep. He doesn't know yet. Remember, he hasn't got a scout here. PuppyPaw never rebuilt that. He's going straight for the mosque.
Oh, this is just so terrifying. Oh,
This
the
outpost, like,
vills
he needs
are
to dive this
repairing.
outpost. It's double hand cannon, though, and he's scared. Spears are being targeted right now. A little bit of a freebie coming over, and that's basically PuppyPaw's way of actually blitzing this down. So he's going to run back towards this. VortiX, he's moving up onto the high ground there with the relic gathering imam. Spear count's just going to deplete here. I think PuppyPaw, he needs to get out the castle ASAP. Now it's going to come in with the backstab, but wait. Wallalo? Wallalo? Okay. Couldn't let him get away.
The Lancers are a really good play here. I really like that addition from VortiX. I think it just really helped shut this down. This FC, I kind of questioned it at first. I was like, FC with what? You have nothing. But he had enough sheep. He probably sent more sheep. He had the berries, at least for a while. This is the never-ending battle.
This outpost and this treb are depressing me right now.
Look away, children. This is what sadness seems to be. The
The Lancers
raids.
are going to be coming the other way. And keep in mind, like, one thing I'd like to highlight back, like, when VortiX brought that first Lance around and attacked the Chuganu, you thought it was good, but, like, remember what it gave up? If he didn't reveal that until he reached the deal on the backside, I think PuppyPaw would have struggled to get the food for this tech up play. But now you can see, like, after that raid came in, he immediately started walling on the north side. And it means these Lancers have less clean targets now.
Yep, Puppy's up, and yeah, the raids didn't really come in for either player. Even though VortiX, like I still think it's crazy lucky for VortiX that his woodline didn't get just murdered.
I just love how he's killing landmarks quicker than VortiX here, who has the treb. The Barbican hasn't been touched yet. The outpost is still standing. Raid's going to come in, but Spimmin are there. This is always the awkward thing with Lancer opening, right? It's like there is a unit your opponent could have built in Feudal Age that counters you. The problem is the men-at-arms, like with all these outposts, just didn't feel like an efficient way for VortiX to break out.
Yeah, the knights were good. I think it also just was a threat, right? It forced Puppy to play differently than he was, right? It actively changed the state through which Puppy had to like view the map, and I think that's a really good thing for VortiX, right? Is he didn't just react. He forced Puppy to react to something with even just a few, which is really solid. Now, I think VortiX needs to look into how can he secure his own base, because now Puppy is adding his own knights, and he has a pretty big eco lead. So if he's able to get like a solid position, it could start to get really scary.
You're also predictable if you're VortiX now, right? Like these outposts are telling you VortiX has not moved east. If he's still in this game, where is all his eco? You already scouted a little bit on the left side. He already knows where to go with these Lancers, and we can see that deer stack location. VortiX hasn't walled himself in at all. It's a very exposed area in the map for both his wood and his food.
But down goes the forward. The Rams are here. The Treb finally finishes that outpost. The guys are like, we're done, and then there's another outpost.
We're free! We're free!
This raid could be big on the left. That is exposed economy.
You know what I love is all that effort for a Treb, and it turns out Rams for what he needed all along there. Like, it's going to be so demoralizing.
The Mangonel as well would have been just fine, right? It would have dealt with it slowly, but like at least it would have prevented repair bills, right? Whereas the Treb just doesn't really do much. Oh man, that's rough. A lot of lost units there.
Yeah, the funny part as well is he's actually upgrading them. And now the Lancers, this is big. VortiX needs to get out.
Immediate reaction, though. That's really good for him.
It's a few. VortiX is going to be limited on food at home, though. And there's still going to be several villages going down in a game where you know Song Dynasty has been activated for several minutes now.
I think he has to figure out, with this dive here, he has to know that there's no wood. He has vision on all the wood. So where is the wood coming from?
Like
he has to know it's here, right?
You'd think he'd be suspicious of it. Love this, though. The Lancers getting in time to start hitting up these Rams. He might be able to keep the Barbican up longer, and that's just going to be frustration because to that whole wood point, it's denying options still from VortiX. But sadly, Knight's quick on the reaction. Looks like PuppyPaw is going to have to try and find a way to essentially protect himself at home here, right? Like, the Lancer raids are nice, but I feel like we're approaching a point where you have to start thinking, how do I get towards Nestabees? Like, how do I win a main fight?
Well, we're nearing that 18-minute mark, which is where in a slow feudal you have 3 mangonels, and in a FC you would have 4. He's only going to have 3, right? But 3 mangonels is kind of generally the magic number where Ottomans can just have options, it feels like, to start to like really threaten stuff, even if they've been, oh, no way.
This one might kill them all. Archers and Chuganu are in. VortiX, it happened again.
That's rough. Why did he go? He just needed food.
He needs food. Like, but
well, he has the sheep.
It's a fair
still,
point.
Right?
No. It's not even the sheep. Look to the right of his base. The deer that Puppy was taking, he reclaimed that entire area.
Like, why did he go back? I guess I just don't get it. But now he's gonna have to deal with this, and he's gonna get the fight. But does he want to fight? The Chinese looking so strong here. VortiX has more units, but maybe of the wrong type.
It's the health bars.
Stick the engagement.
Meta goes down. The health bars are terrible, and VortiX's front line of knights there, so he's not going to last long. He's going to lose this one.
Yeah, the archers not bringing much to the table here for VortiX. They've been able to defend early. The Mangonel shots miss completely.
He might lose the mangoes. The Lancers see it. They're going to go straight for it. That's a freebie. One more
Oh,
hit. It's
those
going to lose one of them here.
Mangonels did.
Archers with the body blocks might be able to protect the second, but that's still an expensive loss. And VortiX now quickly losing control of his own base area.
Yeah, the Barbican being very awkward here for the unit pathing. There just isn't much space. So the archers are getting a decent engagement, but yeah, the GG gets called, and oh my gosh, PuppyPaw with a dominant performance today. Holy crap.
And he keeps the dream alive. PuppyPaw will make it through to that semi-finals showdown with Beastie Cutie next weekend. But this is an interesting game to dissect, to round us out. You know, we talked about, like, you know, is Ottomans OP? Can you let them through? I love PuppyPaw and the Chinese here, man. He's still undefeated.
Still
he got
good.
2 more wins in this series alone. He has 7 wins, no losses. This has become a ban-worthy civ for him. And you know what was wild, Winston, is like this wasn't a one-sided affair. I'd say like it looked really good for PuppyPaw in the early game. But he hung around a little bit too long, right? Like, he started to go into this mass night comp. It looked like it was going to be good for VortiX, but I think the critical point you hit on at the end there is this predictability of moving back to the same area again and again just strung him up and left it hook, line, and sinker for a finish for the Canadian.
I mean, think about it, KP. We were talking about the ways that Puppy could play that, right? We were saying, okay, maybe he goes for like the 2TC into Zhugnu or 2TCFC, all these things. And those had to be probably what VortiX was predicting as well. Do you think VortiX predicted Archer Spearman instantly running across the map into Barbican in between his wood lines, towers around the right, denying the berries? Did you think VortiX expected that? Because the way he played surely didn't, right? And I think credit to VortiX, he did adapt pretty well. I think on the kind of into the mid game, I think it just a couple mistakes there kind of really sealed the deal for Puppy. Whereas I think that game was up in the air before those raids. I think before that happened, if VortiX had kept his economy alive, I think we're still looking at a pretty fair game. VortiX had more units on the field. They were just so out of position twice in a row that the Vil lead just kind of became insurmountable. And then that big fight happened, and VortiX wasn't ready for a fight to happen there. The Mangonels were not in position to hit on the archers, and he did not have enough anti-cav. So really, really tough there for VortiX. I think all around solid performance from him, but Puppy getting 2 wins with China, winning with Biz, got that really good matchup early game. He baited the Ottoman pick late game, right? Like with the redraft, he's just like, all right, I'll give you Ottomans because I have a plan if you just pick them. And
I think what we saw
impressive
here,
stuff all around.
what we saw here is pretty interesting, is an all-round adaptability by PuppyPaw, I want to say. Like, even that game 1, with the way it opened, with the fact that he got those 4 eco kills, or 3 eco kills, almost 4 at the start, he immediately decided to play a longer feudal than most Ayyubid players would. Then you go into game 3, where this weird tower rush happens, and his adaptability is, oh, you're playing into 2TC? I'm not going to play a TC race. I'm going to all-in Shikinu. Game 4 even, I think genuinely, after getting forced to just pull the triumph the way he did, most players on the Byzantines would retract and they'd play more defensive. Then the Delhi would get their edge. Once again, he denies it. And then this final game, there's so many layers to the cake, right? There's the Barbican play, which kind of screws the timing for VortiX. There's the outpost crawl afterwards. And then the most perplexing part, VortiX was probably watching the Lancer number go up and go, this doesn't make sense. I have Janissaries. I can even get my hands on some for free at any given point. Like, you should not keep doing this. I think what we were seeing there is VortiX maybe anticipating a slower approach where China booms up and goes for Spim and Nesta Bees. But PuppyPaw just always setting a new precedent, always kind of unexpectedly catching VortiX with his pants down here, means he wins 4-1 and heads through that semi-final. That means both our Spaniards are gone. We've now got an interesting split here, Winston. Of the 4 remaining, EU is still heavily loaded. The 2 players that went through top of their groups from the EU region. But what I love to be able to say is that in our top 4, we have got representation from North America, Asia, and Europe. That is so refreshing to be able to say, right? Because, like, typically, by this point in the tournament, it's always EU dominant with maybe 1 or 2 Canadians kind of hanging in there. There's never any other representation, but I love that we're getting, like, a more diverse pool. I am basically fanboying Louis here because I genuinely am so ecstatic that Asia is actually getting some representation, especially considering we've been losing a few of the top players recently.